Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and Devin and I are doing something new for the channel. We are going to be doing a versus video, or a comparison video, mainly, between Aeon Trespass Aeon Trespass Odyssey and Kingdom Death Monster, or ATO and KDM. So, never done a video like this before, but we felt that, I felt that since ATO was very heavily inspired by KDM, we could go over some categories that if you're in the market for one or the other, then maybe this video can help you out. And I said versus initially, not that we're trying to see which one is better than the other, but I think what could be fun is where we can kind of, out of the 5 categories that we have, we can kind of, between both of us, decide which one is better in that category. And if we can't decide, because then it doesn't really matter anyway. But the 5 categories that we kind of come up with, which is very loosely and off the cuff, was price/components, then structure, so how the game overall flows and how it's built to be played, then the story exploration sections of both, the interim sections, which they both kind of have, and then lastly the boss fights, ending on what makes these games, because they're boss battlers. So, price and components is coming up first, mainly because, well, first of all, before we even get into any of this, the reason why this is actually such a good video for us to start on is because, one, we've played both of these. KDM significantly...
One to completion.
Yeah, KDM significantly more. ATO, unfortunately, it's just we have not been able to finish it, but I've played enough of it, I think that we can compare them. But you have everything for KDM.
So much.
Right? And some.
Too much. I still have like 100 figures.
Yeah, so he has that. And then I will have everything for Aeon Trespass. They went on their second Kickstarter for the 12 Sins of Heracles, which I haven't got yet. But, so currently right now I have just the first 3 cycles. But I will have everything once everything delivers. So there you go. There's that. So let's go into price and components, because it doesn't behoove anyone to be like, wow, those 4 other categories sound amazing. This game is probably, what, $200? It's like, no.
Nah, get on my level.
That's the down payment to get the game. So I figured we could at least, it's kind of hard, at least on the Aeon Trespass side, because KDM has a retail store.
It does.
Like, they actually, you can...
They have support, they created their own store. Fully support it. They've actually done a lot better at keeping it stocked lately. Before, it's just had dry months. It's like, here's a few new miniatures. Everything else is out, sorry. But here's a few new slutty miniatures.
Could you pay $15 for these minis so we can pay the shop to make the expansion?
This is to keep the artists on the payroll, so please buy these miniatures.
Yeah, pretty much. So let's start with KDM, because it's going to be a little bit easier to jump into. And we'll have you talk about the price and the components. I can see if even Into the Unknown has a website.
So I jumped in on KDM after Waves was at 1 and 2, I believe. So I am unfamiliar with KDM 1.0. I've heard of some things, but to compare... say if I jumped in the Kickstarter from the very beginning, I have to compare that price to what I have ended up paying. Is there's a gap there. I don't know if I had just bought everything Waves 1 through 4 at the very beginning. As soon as I heard about it, I don't know what that price is.
Right.
I know. So, but for the game and all of the expansions that I purchased, let's see here. At Gen Con, I also got a couple of the the Echoes, was a few additional miniatures. I know the price tag was roughly $1,100.
Okay.
And that's essentially, that's your Waves 1 and 2 up to 1.5. And then 1.6 was fairly negligible. I mean, you could probably average it out to about the 1,100. Okay. If you cancel out I'm comparing of course the 1.6 upgrade pack with additional miniatures that I purchased at the time. Yeah. So I want to say It's about 1,100.
And that's including Gambler's Chest and all the extra Wave 4 stuff. No?
Okay, no. No, Seth. So all of those expansions, I believe, let's see here. How much were they running at the time? I believe they were, see here, at Gen Con they were a little bit cheaper, though.
Yeah.
That's also not included.
Well, first off, before we get into expansions, base game, like if you're getting no expansions, base game for KDM, did they ever drop that price?
It is currently $420.
It's still $400? Okay.
Yes. I believe previously it was like maybe like $380.
Okay.
Before they did increase. But yeah,
So,
roughly like $380 for the base game.
And that what does that come with? The base game.
The base game. So that comes with let's see here, monster. So you have all the sprues to create 4 custom survivors based off of each armor set available in the game. It has your monsters, of course. You have your white lion, your screaming antelope, your first nemesis, the butcher, second nemesis, the kingsman, third nemesis, the hand.
Okay.
You have your core monster, the watcher, followed by your finale monster, the gold smoke knight. I think, and then your third quarry, the phoenix.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
He was a bitch to put together.
Yeah.
So that's the monsters. Of course, you have all the gear cards. You have 3 copies of each gear card. You craft for each settlement location. Of course, you have numerous cards involved.
Yep. Okay. So that is...
So that is like base KDM, 380, 420 roughly when you jump in on the game.
Okay. So that's actually not too far off from Aeon Trespass with its core game. Now, again, they don't have a retail store. So the only way that you would be able to get Aeon Trespass is through late pledging. So that's actually, I would probably say, is a win on KDM's side, because if you're watching this and you're like, oh, how can I want to get the game now? You can't get Aeon Trespass now unless you're getting it secondhand. You can go to the KDM store and actually buy it. But, so for the Umbral cycle, so the core game pledge for Aeon Trespass Odyssey is $319. And that includes the prelude content, so the tutorial, and then cycles 1, 2, and 3. Okay. Which comes with 24 plus minis and then shit ton of cards and stuff. I have the numbers. It's 1,500 cards and no. But you can also, like, there's technically, to round out the full Aeon Trespass, you need cycles 4 and 5, but those aren't out yet. So essentially, what you can get right now, which is the box I have, is 320. Now, one thing I could argue and say that ATO does better, but it depends on who you are. You don't have to put minis together.
That's true.
So
KDM definitely leaned more into the, hey, there's all these guys that would like to get into wargaming, but they don't have the friends to wargame, or just don't want to wargame, but they still want to put the effort in to go whole hog into one board game.
Right.
And they slapped in that niche, I think, at a good time, because like the guys that I was standing in line with at KDM were kind of the same way. It's like, I kind of wanted the one big, my one big game that was going to be, my thing. And I was like, oh, okay, I understand that. It's like, because wargaming was attractive, but I don't have any. I'm in the middle of Missouri, in kind of a podunk town. There's not a lot of guys to wargame with.
Yeah. Yeah, so like you mentioned, it was sprues. And
sprues, got to put them together, got to get the materials,
with
you got to shave them.
No official way to put them together.
They had tutorial, they had a how-to for the core game.
They did?
This is where they suffered for a while, because they had the stuff for the core game, but then they kept, I guess this is kind of unaffiliated, but yes, they kept releasing content, and then they didn't give you a how-to. I believe it's been updated now, but there was a good dry spell when it's like, okay, I just got this expansion. How do I put it together?
Yeah, exactly. So you relied on fan-made stuff. But, yeah, so if you don't want to put minis together, and let me tell you, it's not like 3 pieces you have to glue together. Like, it's, like the Phoenix, for example, has little hands. The tiniest hands.
There's like 20 of them.
Yeah, that you have to put in spots that you would never notice if they weren't there. So it could be very, very meticulous. I know they've gotten better, but the original, when I was into KDM, like a single strand of hair that you had to like put on them. So it's it's relatively complex miniature put together. But if that doesn't interest you in the slightest, and because the prices are actually relatively similar, well, then ATO, you're not putting minis together. And the minis still look amazing. So there's that. Now let's go into expansions. So keep going.
Expansions? You want to talk about expansions, buddy?
Right.
Okay, so if you want... So essentially this is the wave... I've seen combination wave 1, 2, those expansions. It was roughly... I think it was $600-700.
Okay.
For all of those additional monsters. So you've got... you've got the Lonely Tree. You've got the Manhunter. We've got... Oh, goodness. The Sunstalker. The Dragon King. You've got the Gorm.
Slenderman.
Slenderman, yes. The Dung Beetle Knight. The
Yeah,
Flower
all
Knight.
the knights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of additional monsters.
Yes.
It's
And we'll ignore the pinups and the Survivor minis because there's a million of them and they give you basically nothing except the mini. So actual content. Was that everything? And then waves 3 and waves 4.
The Gambler's Chest, so that's your wave 3, is currently retailing at $400, which is in their shop and, stocked.
Wow.
That is including, the whole new systems. You've got several systems, to update the game. You've got your seed patterns. You've got your scout system. You've got the, what else do we have? What am I thinking of? The knowledge system, the Ark Survivor system, which is a significant change.
Yes, it is.
Let's see. I know there's several. The character system, which that one's just kind of a little extra.
Yeah.
We haven't unlocked that in our campaign yet.
Okay. Scout
There's a few
system.
more. Yeah, I mentioned the Scout.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, it comes with a bunch of new systems to change the game. So the Gambler's Chest was, I believe, was their kind of next step in their game development. They're kind of changing the path on how they're taking the game because they're doing better with their 1.6 update and with the Gambler's Chest. They're kind of going to a new direction of making the game more modular is what they're aiming for.
Yeah.
And I think that it's been a good step. So, but it's been an awkward process. Because they're not it's a needy development. Since they're not the only game in town anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. Which is very interesting because. Yeah, KDM basically will always have the esteem of being the first. And then now, and it held that for so long. Yeah, there were campaign games, but then it's like, there's no pure boss battlers. And now, it's like you can't turn around without seeing a new boss battler coming out. And I'm like, yes. One, it was, the cheer was for, yes, bring down KDM. And now I'm like, yes, because that, I feel like forced them to change. Because I don't think it would have held up compared to a lot of the other ones. And then Waves 4 for KDM. Do you know? Well, that one's not.
Well, Waves 4 is very nebulous. It is significant amount of content, monsters, and whatnot. Everything that's... you can just take a glint in Adam's eye right now. I'm sure there's that, several of them are kind of done, they just released the Black Knight. So they're starting to section them out and release them, which I think is a good way to do it, because I felt like they probably lost a lot of interest in that huge dry spell they had from Wave 2 to the Gambler's Chest release, and they had nothing going on.
Right.
And I feel like now it's people are talking about KDM again. The Gambler's Chest came out, new systems, they're updating, cool beans, and then immediately followed by the Black Knight. So if they keep that pace up, I think they're going to have a chance in this market.
That's true.
What was I talking about? Oh, yeah. So, let's see here. When I got the late pledge for Waves 3 and 4, so I didn't pay the retail price. I think I paid... It's been so long. That was so...
It was
so many years ago.
Literal years ago. Yeah. Because Waves 4, was the Black Knight.
Because I didn't get the pinups, I remember that much, because they were also... And I bought them after the fact. But I did get...
Well, the Black Knight that was also released is not the campaign that thing is around.
He is
right?
when they were describing him
Mm-hmm.
at the Gen Con, I believe they were describing him in the Inverse Mountain campaign.
Yes.
But like I said, the way they're kind of developing the game is
Yeah.
that they want it to be modular. So
Got
it's like,
it.
okay, I have this campaign, or you can create your own custom campaign, because now they're giving them like terms, like your Node 1 query, your Node 2 query, your
right.
Node 3 query. So each monster will have its classification. This is a Node 3, a Node 2, and so you can like, okay, I'm making my own custom campaign. We'll swap in.
Cool.
My Phoenix is going to be my Node 3.
No, he's not. No one's putting the Phoenix in their fucking campaign.
Yeah, I know. God, it's like do anything but the Phoenix. So rough.
He sucks. Okay, so total, like just not including the the extra dice or any of those fiddly miscellaneous
So
purchases.
let's see here. I want to say it was about $2,400 for everything.
Okay.
I want to say is my vague estimate. That's core game.
Yep.
That's up to 1.5. Gambler's chest, and then my unfulfilled Wave 4 stuff.
Got it. Okay. 2,400.
Thereabout.
That's a lot. Now, to be fair, that is a lot of content. Like, especially with what's coming with Wave 4. Man, that Emerald Dragon.
Oh, the Ivory. Yeah, the
Ivory Dragon. I don't know why I
God,
always
it's
think he's
enormous.
Yeah, that's gonna be
God.
his own massive
Just
box.
fucking box just for one miniature.
Like, I'm getting a 600-pound package in the mail. What did I order? Did we order? Did we get a new couch? Nope, that's the Ivory Dragon. So, significantly cheaper on the Aeon Trespass Odyssey side. So I'm on their latest Kickstarter, and I can actually look at my pledge. But I already went over the base game. You can get the expansion box, which includes cycles 4 and 5. That's an additional 221 euros. So, I don't know what the conversion rate. 250, spitball it. So between to get cycles 1 up to 5, you're looking at 500-ish for five full cycles, which will finish out this box. And then you go into the 12 Sins of Heracles, which has the 4 seasons: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. And each of those boxes is about 128 euros, so 140. So another $600 if you got each of those individually. So you're looking at a little over 1,000 for all of that. And then they do include like smaller campaigns. I'm trying to find where it's at, because they had like the Onward Odyssey box, which was kind of, I think it was like a bridge, like a mini campaign to bridge certain sections. Then they have basically miniature sets, because in this game, slight spoilers, but there's certain god forms you can get, so there's miniatures for that instead of it just being a card. There's nymphs that are cards. You can also get upgradable tiles, so the tiles in the game that are normally cards are the cardboard, and so those are about $40 each, and you can get those for each of the types. And I'm not going to include extra dice or the playmats or anything. But they also have a bunch of little mini Titan expansions, about $15-16. So I think for me to get everything, because I meticulously scrubbed like that, because it was like all over the place. I'm like,
Okay, it's $1,500 for my Waves 3 and 4.
Oh, you found it? Okay,
Yeah.
Nice. So I'd say roughly for everything for Aeon Trespass, you're probably looking at half. If you're saying around
About 25, yeah.
about 2,500 to get everything for KDM, I'd say you're probably at 12, 13 to get everything for ATO. But I also think that component-wise, you're getting less with ATO. Just especially in sheer plastic. In sheer plastic, you are getting significantly less, but you also don't have to put it together. Oh, damn it! I'm Dyslexic.
Yeah, because KDM went with a route of, being able to create your own custom survivors if you wanted to.
Exactly.
And so you could, if there's one that you want to remember, you could fully cobble them together with the exact armor and weapons that you have equipped in the game.
So, $1,000 cheaper, but you do get overall less stuff. So, but I will say, if we're talking about who wins, I think I'm still going to give it to KDM. Because you can get this.
Yeah.
You cannot get this unless you pledge. Now, granted, in the board game industry, luckily, you can get any game at any time off the secondhand market.
Mm-hmm.
You can trade for this. If someone's like, oh, I fucking hated this game. Here's 5 games I want. I can trade this for it. So you can do that.
That's true. That does give them longevity. They created their own store. You can't get them in bursts. You can get it.
Exactly. Yeah. If you're sitting there with $2,500 burning a hole in your pocket,
oh, buddy,
you're just like, not even that.
This could be plastic.
This could be my life. You don't have to try and find someone to sell you a copy, and because that's not fair for me to be like, oh, you can find someone to sell it cheaper. No, until Into the Unknown makes a store where all their stuff is on there. Mm-hmm. The fact that you had to pledge, and if you didn't pledge, and they're not accepting late pledges anymore, which I think they are actually, but by the time people watch this, they might not be. You're SOL.
Yeah.
You have to go there and buy it, and I don't even really think the Kickstarter prices were that much of a discount whenever you were getting it. So, yeah, I'm gonna give the edge to KDM, even if you have to put the minis together. If they're better at giving you guides, that's part of the experience. I actually enjoyed it, but it was very frustrating at times. So, that is the price/components section. Now, we're going to go into the overall structure of how the games kind of are.
So you want to go with structure, just general flow?
General flow.
Like a campaign?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of. Which, again, it was hard to come up with 5 categories. To be completely honest. Structure, for me, yeah, the other 2, story and interim, kind of bleeds into this, but I was really trying to come up with 5 categories, and we had 5 at one point that we forgot what one of them was. Basically campaign style, and so this actually might be the overall smaller section, but basically the way that Aeon Trespass Odyssey works is through cycles. And each cycle is basically its own kind of self-contained story. In the the very first cycle is the Truth of the Labyrinth, and basically that is gonna have its overall that's all the narration, your timeline, the bosses that you're fighting, and then the kind of the main goal.
Okay.
To my understanding, they do not connect to one another.
Okay. But they all exist within the same universe.
Yeah. It's all still
So it's all a post-apocalyptic, the Greek gods have been destroyed, right?
Correct. Yeah, that's all centered around that same overall theme. But yeah, basically, the way that the game flows is you have a timeline. And tons of ways to lose, actually lose the campaign. But you have a timeline on where you're just basically going from one section to another and you rapid fire them. When we do a session, you can get through 4 days in one session versus the way KDM does it. It's so you have in the first cycle you have 80 days.
Okay, so it gives you this many days at the beginning, for the cycle.
Yep.
And
if you get to the 80th day and you have not completed the overall main goal, you have lost.
Right, and then within these 80 days, so you have your scripted encounters. You're going to fight a monster on these days.
Unless something moves them forward or gives you a story event, it's boom. On day 8, we have a fight. On day 10, we have a technology upgrade. It's all icons.
All so like your technology, like, and then just going about your day to day, you get exploration, which gives you gear and loot. Well, not gear, but it gives you components,
resources.
Resources. That's the word. That's a better word.
Yep. So as you're kind of playing throughout the game, you gather resources randomly, kind of, which then on very specific days you use to craft technologies, and that's all relatively interwoven.
So the technologies you don't have to craft. They are strictly time based, aren't they?
Yes.
It's like on this day. It's like sure you can, but you get to pick which ones you're developing.
There are two types of technologies.
Okay.
And you get to pick. So there's basically like combat technologies, and then I can't remember what the other one is, but it's like your general technologies that aren't combat. Mm-hmm. And on specific days, you get to pick one of those. So it's like, hey, we're on day 15. We get to pick a battle technology. Yes. And those technologies have basically a tree that's what's unlocked and what you can actually choose to get. Mm-hmm. And whenever you build one of those technologies, it adds more to the project's deck.
Okay.
But, yeah, so that's kind of what an overall structure is. You go through each day, like, especially there's an app, which there's now an app for KDM that is really good. But you're going through the app and just, okay, check mark the next day. Now, it's like we don't have a fight for the next 5 days. Mm-hmm. So we're just going to explore and do story stuff until that gets there. And then, boom, now here's our fight. You do the fight, and you kind of rinse and repeat. Mm-hmm. I think...
But then when the Nemesis hit the table, gets a little spicy.
That's another one. Yeah, the Nemesis throws a wrench into things because that thing just chases you until it catches up. Then you have kind of an unscripted fight,
which I think is a really cool way of using the map that they kind of create.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing is also for each cycle you have these enemies. Mm-hmm. You have these 2 regular fights, the Nemesis, and then the ultimate big bad. Every cycle has a big bad. And that's it. Like, there's no... I think the Nemesis can carry from cycle to cycle if you don't actually end up killing it. Mm-hmm. But other than that, like in Cycle 1, you have the Hecaton and the Labyrinthoros. Mm-hmm. And when you're in Cycle 2, those are not it. You do not get to go back and choose to fight them. Okay. They were only... Because they deal a lot with the maze touch.
Yeah.
And that. So it's centered all around this... The maze that Theseus, I think, fought the Minotaur. Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of like you're centered around Crete. You're in this very specific location dealing with that cult of the maze. That's the very first cycle. So it's all relatively self-contained. I think the structure for Aeon Trespass Odyssey makes it a little bit more... and we're not talking about rules. We're talking about the digestion of, like...
So within... so we're still describing, like, the general structure.
Yeah.
So within... Let's see here. Within those events... Let's see here. You have your story events that you run into with your survivors, and those kick off from... different spots on the map tiles that can lead to...
And those are all tied into the cycle. Mm-hmm. So, each cycle is meticulously written to be within this, like, kind of general theme of what the cycle is trying to tell. And I think that makes ATO relatively digestible, because if you have all this stuff and it's all viable for you to choose from, it could be overwhelming versus, we're in Cycle 1, I don't have to worry about any of these minis, I don't have to worry about any of those technologies or these cards or these items. I don't touch them till Cycle 2. Mm-hmm. Hell, even the what are they called? Like the wounds, the danger decks.
Yeah.
There's your general ones, but then there's also ones that get shuffled in specifically for a cycle. Okay. So there's like 5 in like the first one that's like, hey, Cycle 1 only. Mm-hmm. So that's relatively the structure. Like I don't want to dive any more into like...
Yeah, because that one has like a little bit of everything in it in the descriptor, so it's like, how do we not talk about everything in this?
I know, that's why it's just relatively kind of like... if you were to sit down and be like, here's how a campaign is going to go, that's kind of how I explained it. So, with that being said, KDM structure, which is actually, as I was thinking about it, they are quite different from one another.
Yeah, so with KDM structure, so it's evolved somewhat. It has, before, with different expansions, and then, of course, your core game, it has campaigns within it that are described either in the rule book or with your additional content. So, in the early days, yes, you had your structured campaigns, and it's like, okay, it will give you your campaign sheet. It's generally, in the early days, it was 25 years, and now it's 30 years. Each year being a gameplay session, a session essentially that includes your settlement, your hunt, and then your showdown phases.
Oh, that's right. Showdown's the end, isn't it?
That's
the end of a lantern year?
Well, the way they recommend doing a session is settlement, hunt, showdown. Okay. And that's your session. That's you and your friends getting together and playing.
Got it.
But the way I've always done it is, you start with the showdown, and then you spend all your resources. Because, I just got all these resources, I want to spend them now.
Yeah.
So then, you do your hunt, showdown, then settlement.
Yeah.
That's how we've always played it.
Well, because they start you off at the very beginning with
a showdown.
With a showdown.
Which, yes. So that's how it starts. It starts with a very simplistic, almost like the childlike telling of this awful story of your survivors being birthed into darkness, immediately murdered, and then you have to throw down with your antagonist, the White Lion, or now the Crimson Crocodile, whichever you want to pick.
Yeah.
As it murders through your crew, and you have your nerfed version of him to fight. But anyway, I'm getting off topic here. But yes, if you would have your scheduled encounters, it has scheduled story events, so on and so forth until you reach the end of the campaign.
Right.
Scripted, your Nemesis campaign, so your Nemesis encounters. So for the most part, you're not going to be surprised on what's coming.
Yeah.
So like a gameplay session, again, we touched on them already.
KDM's campaign structure is 30 lantern years.
30 lantern years, yes.
And
with 3 phases: settlement, hunt, and showdown.
Yes.
So, okay, settlement, that's your craft phase.
Yep.
Yeah, similar to the technology development and your travel phase.
Yep.
From there, you have your hunt phase. You go space by space on a long hunt board. You have to try to reach your monster. You roll a D100, and you get one of 100 events, which occur. And depending on that, how that marches forward, you reach the monster, and you have your showdown phase. So I guess if we just want to talk about broad structure,
right,
that's kind of the gist of it.
Yeah, basically the main difference is while you have 80 days in cycle 1 specifically before you lose, you're generally going to end earlier. And you can go through, in one game session, you can get through 5 days. In KDM, one game session is one lantern year, but you will not end earlier. Unless, I guess, your settlement hits 0 population, you just outright lose that way. But generally, your overall game is going to be 30 sessions before your campaign's over. Yep. So kind of like what's going to end a campaign, overall finishing a main story in ATO, finishing a campaign in KDM is going to be 30 games. From what I remember. I don't think anything in the new stuff made it change. Actually, here's an alternate way to win. Did you really win?
Do you ever really win? Really, you just lose now.
So, for me, and the other thing is kind of what I was bringing up. You mentioned that KDM, how it's designed now, is way more modular.
So, now that they've established nodes versus... So they make it easier to create like your own campaign. And then now they've created pillars, which are different gameplay aspects. The scout system, your arc survivors, that you could drag and drop into your campaign. It's like, if I want to increase the complexity, add this, which the gambler's chest Keeper, what was it? The Dreamkeeper campaign. It's just like maximum complexity.
Yeah, especially at the very
Boy, howdy, do you like your bookkeeping? Because we put bookkeeping where you can bookkeep, so you can bookkeep while you bookkeep.
And then that prompted the app designers to be like, oh, hell no.
Oh, God, yeah.
And we started using the app, and it's like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, Stride for KDM. I need whoever created that.
Yeah,
awesome app.
I am like never touching those sheets again. So between the two, I personally, it's actually interesting because I do love the fact that they made it modular. Mm-hmm. And I love that because you own everything. So you have the capability of making it all modular. However, I kind of like the self-contained cycles that ATO brings. Mm-hmm, I think it's a little bit more digestible. You still feel like you have a full-fledged campaign, but it's all cycle one.
Right, because it's like they give you the power to create your campaigns, but it's like the best ones are always the ones made by the creators.
Yeah, exactly.
The ones that have their own specific story events tied to them. Those are the best.
Yeah. And because KDM that we know can be so swingy of we're doing really well or we're doing horrible, if you tried modulating that, you could tip the scales even more where it's like, oh, this is brutal, and we're like 10 games in, which is like 20 hours.
Yeah.
Versus, hey, cycle 3 are these two monsters, this nemesis, this boss, these techs, these items.
I guess to touch on the flow a little bit more, so ATO is very structured.
Yes.
Incredibly structured. In KDM, I could go and just choose to fight a level 3 if I wanted to.
That is
a level
true.
3 monster.
No,
I could go
right.
out in Lantern Year 2 and be like, I want to fight a level 3 lion, try my luck. Like, that is in the rules. You can
maybe
choose
I'll
to
crit every
maybe
die
I
roll.
will, but you're going to die, and it's going to be a terrible decision.
Why have we not done that?
But it's loose. You can do that. You could draw. You could have a crazy hunt event and get a busted ass weapon fast, and then your campaign's butter. Or you keep rolling shit, and your survivors keep dying. There's a huge luck swing in this game.
Yeah.
So you could be doing great. Everything's awesome. Or you could just be having the shittiest time.
Well, we've had that already in our new campaign where it's like, I'm like, and I think it's partially due to the adjustments they made where it's like, I feel like we're more leveled up quicker. Like, this actually feels relatively balanced. We're already fighting level 2s. Hell yeah. And we had one event where it's like, great. All right, 2 of us are gone already.
Delete.
Except they didn't. But it was like, okay, and I was going to go with it. I was like, all right, man, that fucking sucks, but let's keep going. Have fun fighting this Phoenix with 2 people. That 2 of our newest, weakest people.
Just like, you got 0 on tick speed. Gone.
And it's like, this person had the death mask, which was just a random draw. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And in ATO, the structure is you're fighting level 1s.
Yes, because it's like they have the specific times that you're getting this much resources. It's like, because they know how much you're getting, when you're getting it.
Yeah.
You get these levels of monsters, and if you sure, you could choose the route. You can make it a little more difficult for yourself to fight the same monster over and over, which they have an interesting kind of back and forth.
It's a little confusing, because it's like, wait a minute, so... Yeah, I guess if you fight the Hecaton 3 times in a row, it's going to be level 1.
Or it'll reach level 2 faster.
It'll reach level 2, and then now it's like, okay, no matter what, you cannot... If you choose to fight a Labyrinthoros, it can't be level 1. It has to be level 2.
Yeah.
No, that's actually a really good point. I didn't even think about that with UK, because we've never done it. We've never been like, what, Lantern Year 2? Yeah, level 3?
Let's go.
You're not winning. You're not winning.
Yeah.
I don't even know... I think even if you crit every single time, you're probably still not winning, because they still get to go.
And they're gone.
Yeah, and then it just completely decimates, and this doesn't have that. So, if you want more variability, if you want the wacky swings of luck, KDM, I think, is going to be your more, up your alley a little bit more. But if you want more structure, condensed, less overwhelming options, I'd say ATO.
Yeah, because I know. I don't know if that's better to touch on in the. So what are our other topics?
We have story exploration.
Story exploration.
Then the interim sections.
Interim
and
section.
then boss fights.
Okay, so then I guess that'd be better to describe your interim sections. Essentially, so another interesting is ATO has a lot more story elements.
Yes,
significantly
which is
more.
very much next.
Okay,
Yep.
yes, because I was going to touch on where KDM has like almost little to no story elements,
Right.
based on your nebulous campaign.
Right.
It has kind of a gear crafting system within.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of your free time goes.
Yeah.
Your interim. Well, we'll get there.
Yep. Yeah, structure was definitely... I think that was one that I was like, I think that was the fifth one. So where are you leaning on general design structure? Like, I'm going ATO.
I'm gonna go. I mean, if we're talking smoothness, yeah, I'm definitely gonna go ATO. It's smooth.
Okay.
You know, you're not, because I know, you know, in like a game session, sometimes I feel like I get bogged down a little in KDM when it's like, okay, we're sitting here crafting, and you know, say worst case, like you got like 4 dudes at the table. We all want to make a thing.
Yeah.
We only have this many resources. Now we generally played it at 2, but
Yes.
say if you played it at 4, it's like I want to make this.
Which
I want to make
did,
this.
Like the series on the channel, fucking years ago, we had 4 players. 3 because Josh evidently came back. So, but yeah, when you're playing, it's just like we don't have enough resources for everyone to get everything.
And then
Like-
you can get bogged down on.
It's
It's
like-
like what are we making?
Yeah, it's like,
You know,
well,
what
we
are
haven't
gonna do?
we haven't done anything for Devin in a while. So what do you want to build? Well, I want a Phoenix armor. Guess we're fighting the Phoenix. I hate you, Devin. I fucking hate you. This fight.
I
you
want to be
suck.
fully phoenixed out with twin tomahawks.
But yes, and here it's like shared items. Oh, what do we all want to create? Yeah, here you go. Just divvy it out. So we're leaning KDO for structure. Now it's story, story and exploration.
Well, I'll just get KDM out of the way here.
You just go for it.
So story-wise, KDM, it definitely takes the more found route, the
Dark Souls.
story.
The
Dark
Dark
Souls,
Souls
yeah,
approach.
the Dark Souls approach. Very nebulous. You're in a nebulous environment. You don't know how you got there. You get little gleans and hints from little bits of data from different miniatures on the market that they come with a little stipend of text and lore, or within the storybook, within the hunt events. So you kind of be able to piece together a little bit of your environment. Now, based on the campaign that you choose, you're going to have story events kind of based around who your core monster is going to be. So, like, say, the Watcher, you're going to have these specific scripted events, and kind of it's going to lean your campaign in a different direction versus, you know, the Dream.
Yeah,
whereas the
you're right,
Gambler
actually.
in the Dreamkeeper campaign, where it's going to have different scripted story events that's going to lean you, which are generally, okay, turn to this page, this is what happens, this event occurs,
Right.
roll on the table, and this is going to lean you
Yeah,
in a
because the
different
Watcher
direction.
was like Yeah, now that I remember, that he was like documenting a bunch of stuff, like the settlements, and he was basically like the scribe for some other dude, right?
Let's see. You're talking about like the gods in KDM?
Yeah, I
Is it
thought the Watcher was documenting settlements for a reason.
No, so like the Watcher is. This is. Okay, there's a Patreon creator.
Oh, wait, hold on.
Okay.
Okay.
Patreon creator Finn. I recommend him if you're interested in KDM at all. Seek him out. Amazing content.
Not a sponsor.
Yeah.
We don't know this guy either.
Yeah, I've been paying him money for a while.
Devin might have a parasocial relationship.
He's my best friend. No. But anyway, so the story in KDM, I would say the main story is in the individually created stories within the survivors that you create and the experiences they go through. That's kind of where your story's going to be. It's like, okay, here's this random guy that I just named, but Whippy Bobby.
Yeah!
It's Whippy Bobby. He likes whips, but somehow he started murdering people. He's eating the skulls of his fellow man. He's getting the final kill on the lion.
He's our best fighter.
Yeah, he just keeps beating monster after monster. And now it's like, no, that's a badass story, but now he's got coprolalia. He can't stop gibbering, because he was just overwhelmed by this all-seeing fucking eye in the darkness.
Yep.
But
That
yeah,
is
that's
true.
kind of the interesting part is it's created stories. You create
It
your own
is,
lore because
yes.
we want some more survivors. Okay, these two have to couple up to birth children, and then that kind of creates a family line.
Yep.
Which
And then you have events where it's like we just had a random event where you rolled shitty and 2 characters just get gripped out of the darkness, and it's like, oh my god, and you hear crunching and they're being eaten, and it's like, oh my god, and we look at the lineage, it's like,
They were brother and sister.
They were brother. That was their kids that were just sucked down into the darkness. And yes, so you definitely get a lot of stories that are created from the players and the decisions that they have decided to make. I know,
but they also die immediately from a shitty roll. So
yeah,
I just built that up. But yes, you could have this epic guy roll a 1 on a single table. He's gone now. So that's kind of your give and take a little bit. They can become really badass. And with the recent Gambler's Chest, where they added the knowledge system and philosophies, they really leaned into that strength. So now, when they reach a certain age, they adopt a philosophy. So they're in this absolute dark, horrendous atmosphere. And it's like, okay, how do I cope with this? Do I adopt this? Survivalism. I'm going to survive. I don't care. Whatever I have to do, I'm going to live.
Yeah.
Or, I think I'm dead. I think we're all dead. I think this is the afterlife.
Yeah.
Or, bones are tasty. I like bones.
Right. You know what gets me horny? Strangling people to death with my whip.
I feel alive in myself when I'm killing another man. So
yeah, that's very, very Jeffrey Dahmer-esque mentality.
So.
So, and then also you have the ambiguity of fan theories, like, because in a lot of the expansions, like the Lion Knight, for example, I think it was Lion Knight, because is that the one where it announced the Silver City?
Yeah, or it kind of preludes to like an ancient civilization of the lion people.
It makes it seem like that. It's like, okay, it's not just this grim, dark world of wasteland where you just run across monsters. There's biomes and there's a hierarchy, there's monarchies, there's god realms. But it's technically none of it's confirmed. You have a lot of it that is whatever is given to you in the book is all you're getting, and then you get people on Patreon or fan-crafted theories, which you get from Dark Souls and the FromSoft games, where it's a lot of people reading a shit ton of item descriptions and technically still not 100% confirmed.
Yeah.
Like, if the designer's not coming out and saying that is 100% true, that's what we wrote, you just kind of have to take certain theories and run with it. So everything you tell me about KDM, I'm like, that's lore.
Right, but I get it. It's not in the book. This isn't, you don't get, like, huge story events. Right. You're not, chatting with individuals, that kind of thing. You're not going from settlement to settlement.
Right.
Talking to other people. So let's talk about ATO a little bit.
Well, I will say, even though that everything that you do tell me based off what Finn pulls or whatever he does and finds out, I still think is super fucking cool. Like, I really am always like, oh man, so what's going on with this creature? Or who's this god hand now? Like, is that the same one as the one that you fight in it's that I'm always intrigued by. But yeah, it's
very nebulous.
It's there's a little bit of taste for you. So, with the story that ATO has, it is so narrative driven, like insanely narrative driven. Again, with each individual cycle having its own book. I mean, I can find emails of him talking about how many words are going to be put into cycles 4 and 5, which apparently cycle 4 has more written stuff than all 3 cycles. And cycle 5 has less, but it's more dense, from what he said. And most of the time when we're playing, like, narrative games, there's a lot of narrative games, I mean, we saw with, like, Stars of Icarios, where it's just, like, the way you write dialogue makes it reminds people it's really hard to write dialogue. Lately, there's, like, 3 games that come to mind. Oathsworn, ATO, and Tainted Grail all have peak levels of writing. ATO is one of the best narrative, like, written games that I've played. Now, granted, eventually it'll all be done on Foreteller, which will be way more amazing, because as of right now, I'm reading everything. However, the way that the story is done is basically, I mean, you just have a massive book of just text that is going to be telling you the story, whether that's going to be your main story, your Inward Odyssey, which is where you're learning more about your actual city ship, that you have because, like, the world of Aeon Trespass Odyssey there was an Eschaton, I think it's Eschaton, where these primordial beings, these Lovecraftian Cthulhu tech sci-fi creatures arrived, killed the Greek gods, like they were just snuffed out basically immediately, and then were just running rampant and kind of started to destroy the world. And the only way that you could fight back that we found were Titans. And the Titans, how you control them, because they were just barbaric beasts that were uncontrollable, was through these kind of mech helmets that you kind of like Gundam or whatever, like it was Evangelion. Just kind of like,
in a way, you so it's like this living creature, but you have piloted its body and spirit, essentially.
Yep. And they were the only creatures that could break through the Aeon Trespass. Which
Evangelion,
is kind of,
yeah, that does feel very, very Evangelion.
Yeah. So the Primordials have this Aeon Trespass shield, which is kind of, like I said, a shield. The Titans were the only thing strong enough to break through that and damage them. So that's kind of like your overall structure. So it's a mix of like the sci-fi Greek mythology twist, which is extremely unique and I really love. But a lot of your story stuff is very much coming from the game. And like I said, around the structure, it's centered around a specific theme of each cycle. But not only do you have the main story, because the Inward Odyssey stuff, that stuff you choose to try and go out of your way for. Every time you gain knowledge, you can put in either progress towards the thing or put on the Inward Odyssey, so you learn a little bit more about the city ship you're on. Then there's also your own Nemos nodes, which are your character's personal backstory that technically are random, but it's like, hey, you survived a siren calling. Now let's read more about that. Then you have adventure hubs, which again are cycle tied, that as this kind of ties into the exploration, where you are traversing throughout the map, and there's an icon on this map tile, that's an adventure hub tile, roll on this table, and then you learn even more side stuff of resistances, of these these cults. Then
there's like different affiliations also.
Yep, 3 different affiliations in the first cycle that you can be friends with or enemies with, or be neutral.
Just be neutral with everybody.
Pretty much. Because you can't really help one without pissing off another.
Exactly. They're like, okay, either one's going to love you, another's going to fucking murder you.
Exactly.
Or everyone's kind of whatever.
Exactly. And they all have their regions, and you have so many, you in the first cycle, you get like a character that is like with you. She's like your guide, helping you, because it's like, we've never been here before. A lot of stuff where it's like based off decisions. Hey, do you want to do this or this? If you have her with you, you can do this as well, because she understands the culture. It's like, okay, yeah, we'll take her advice because she seems to know what she's talking about. And all that is meticulously tied. Like the amount of text that is in this game, I'm amazed. Again, from first-time designers, unless I'm mistaken, how this hasn't fallen apart. How I don't think I've seen a single typo either. I'm sure it's in there. I don't remember seeing one. Like, the adventure hubs specifically also have sections within themselves. They're continuing stories. If you run across this rebellion group, then you learn about that. And then next time you roll that, it's the continuation of that rebellion group. And then on top of all that, you have rest and relaxation things where it's like, we had one where it was a random, you roll a d10 and it's like, this is the one we got. It was like we all were, blowing off steam, and it's like, we're missing a Titan. Like, where the fuck is it? And it's like someone piloted it and ran to the beach.
They were drunk and had a crazy time.
Yep. Probably killed a bunch of people. But it's all very lighthearted. Like, the game, it's a grim setting, but it's not...
It's not grim dark.
It's not grim dark.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's
hey,
not murder and darkness. You're not losing your parents every other day.
Right. Right. You're not having your...
You're not watching your child being eaten alive.
Exactly.
But,
It's definitely like, oh, well, there's a big bad. But yeah, we can still... It's not like the Primordials are enslaving the human race. It's like, no, we can still drink and, have a good time. Like... And then on top of that, yeah, the exploration aspect of it actually doing a 7th continent, 7th citadel kind of thing where there's the individual map tiles that basically the game tells you if you're not fighting something, you're in the story section or you're in the exploration section. Because every turn you have to move your ship. Mm-hmm. So you're constantly moving, constantly getting titans, constantly getting resources, and that's a massive part of the game. So yeah.
Okay, so with each cycle, all these are completely different.
Yes.
So you have, the main meat of your story is that you encounter is as you travel along the map.
Yep.
You encounter nodes, and
Correct.
then it's going to pull up like a different table that you can roll on.
Yeah.
Depending. What else? Short of like actual the proper adventure hubs, where it's like, okay, this is your story for
Right.
this cycle. This is the big shit that's going on. This king's gone. And that's usually tied to a card that's going to push you forward.
Yep, which there are 2 types of cards. There's like the main goal of what you're trying to do, but there's also the Doom card, which is kind of another way you can lose. That has story elements tied to it. But those are the way you're progressing. So you have a goal off of those cards that will tell you, hey, once you kind of get 6 progress markers on this, now read this section and then pull out this card. You're wanting to do that before the Doom card. Because they're on the exploration, there's tiles that just have Doom symbols. When you land on those, you basically put a Doom token. Those have a threshold. And basically, if the Doom progresses further than you can progress the main story, you lose.
Yeah, because wasn't the Nemesis tied to a certain amount of Doom? Like
He
didn't show up until we
The
reached...
Nemesis was tied to a story event. So similar a little bit to how KDM does it. You can have story events pop up on your timeline, but they are few and far between. Like KDM is every single Lantern year, you have a story event. Well, you have a settlement event, sorry.
Right.
And then you might have a story event. ATO is like, it was the Cackle. That was kind of like, it was an event that was on a very specific Lantern year, which may or may not have risen it further. That's what prompted the Nemesis to show up.
Yeah.
But you're not going to have many of those. It's going to be very specific decisions that you've made that will be like, now write this on your timeline.
Okay.
But yeah, again, it's self-contained, which is nice. Like, it'd be overwhelming if it was like, hey, here's 5 cycles of shit. Here's your, dictionary of narration. And the fact that it's going to have foreteller, which they've been sending out more and more samples of. Oh, it's going to be so nice.
Nice.
Because I just... Like, I will say, kind of at a slight negative on the way the story is done, is... I mentioned Inward Odyssey, main story, Doom, characters, adventure hubs, restaurant. That's 6 things of, like, text that if you're not playing the game all the time, jumping back in, it's like, what's happening? So it can be a lot to where if you're not able to retain all that, where it's like, okay, it's been a little bit, what are we doing? Or in the adventure hubs, where it's like, these are continuous side stories, but I don't really remember what we did with these people last time.
Yeah.
So it is a lot of text, and until Foreteller comes out, it's a lot of reading. So definitely between the two, if we're giving story exploration like as its own category, you basically have all the story versus none of the story.
Yeah.
It
has a story, doesn't really, self-created story has a proper story.
It has actual narration. But again, if you don't want to be the one reading, or you don't want other people, your gaming group doesn't want to sit around and listen to you read, or hell, even if Foreteller comes out and they don't want to spend a majority of their night listening to audio, then don't bother. It's a major section. It's phenomenally written. Like, it doesn't feel young adultish or childish. Like, it feels proper. It's not overtly gratuitous either, like ATO. I mean, or not ATO, like KDM. I mean, KDM's not like sexy.
Well, KDM leans more into like they definitely like Adam definitely has some very good artists on his payroll,
right?
And boy howdy, do they put their work on the front page. You know, that's what you're seeing. That's what the story event is. It's like you see this, you know, lovely art print and tied to the story to kind of help you envision this fucking nonsense world that is KDM. So again, mostly self-made story. You know, you're envisioning and trying to piece together what's going on. But for the most part, listed, actual, proper story. ATO is where you go.
Yep. So I think I'm going to give the nod to ATO just because, I mean, just by sheer default, it actually has story and stuff. But again, people might not like that. People might love the idea of finishing out a campaign of KDM and having a character make it all the way through. I mean, we still talk about, to this day, even after I hated KDM, which I don't anymore, of the time where it was like Kat's character that was immortal and insane and just withstood 96 damage from the Butcher because it all converted to brain damage that she was immune to. And while it wasn't in the story, it was us, like, the Butcher going crazy, like, why won't you fucking die? And she's like, more! And we're just like, kill him! Well, so you get that here. You don't get that here. So, to each their own. But yeah, story definitely leans ATO. Then, we get to the interim section. So this is kind of where...
So you're not fighting a monster.
You're not fighting a monster, and you're not reading.
And then so you have resources, and you're doing stuff with them, or you're on your way to the hunt, or whatever. But anything that isn't fighting the monster right now.
Correct. Yep. So I'll get this out of the way.
Okay.
Because ATO doesn't really have this. At least not to this extent. So where kind of what we were talking about, where story exploration leans heavily on this. And
of course, all the story is happening in the interim.
It is. So again, this kind of leans a little bit back into structure. Is ATO kind of has two sections. The adventure phase, which is where you are moving, gaining resources, getting technologies, spending those resources, reading. That's it. And then if the next day has a fight, you're doing kind of some of that, and then it's your major fight. And then that's kind of it. KDM is very, like you said, settlement, hunt, showdown.
Repeat.
Yeah, rinse, repeat. But when you were talking about like the interim section, so the things that you're not when you're not actually fighting, what are you doing? Well, this section for me, or this category, was more of like, okay, what are you doing with resources? How are you building characters? So in ATO, you do get resources. There's an exploration phase where you flip over a deck of cards.
I mean, you also get a bunch from killing the monsters.
You do.
So there's like two different kinds of resources. You have your monster resources, then you have your kind of exploration resources.
So you have, I can actually tell you exactly what they're called. As I pull up the application, look, it's our Sexy Argonauts campaign. So they are called, cargo hold. There are mortal resources, which are your trireme, monument, and armaments, and then primordial resources. That's what you get for killing the primordials. And then there's hidden stuff. And the mortal resources are basically what you're getting from the exploration phase. You flip it over, gain 2 trireme, gain 5 monuments, yada, yada, yada. Killing the primordials depends on what you damage. There's ways you can get their core, but you have to crit on a level 3 body part to get that. But really what you're doing with that is you are spending those to get items. And those items are based off the technologies that you have. So if you don't have advanced trireme weapons, or if you want a bow or something, you have to develop the technology to be able to allow you to do that. But once you do that, then it's like, okay, spend these resources, boom, 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 we're done. And then that just goes into a pile. Like, nothing about your character is unique, I will say, in ATO. Story-wise, yeah, you have your
right.
notes
They have
and all that.
their nebulous backstory that kind of flourishes as they're learning a little bit more because they're like waking up from a long
They
sleep.
have amnesia.
Yeah.
They were woken on the Odyssey or on the city ship.
Yeah, they found them on the Argo.
Some old man who was probably diddling them. Oh, you're awake! Welcome, hero!
Just like a toe in his mouth.
Oh, hey! Oh, what's happening? You're destined by the gods to kill the primordials.
Tossing there, turning something fierce because my asshole hurts.
Guys, did you all wake up like that? No, just me? You were my favorite. But yeah, so... And then you have, like, skills and stuff that you get, but you're not ever really ranking those up. Like, you have willpower and stuff.
Mm-hmm. But those are based from the Nemo, so you have character core skills that can associate on story events.
Yeah, it's very bare bones. Your character is more narrative driven than actual mechanic driven. Like when a Titan dies, it's the Titan. That's the resource. Your character, your Argonaut can die, but it's very specific whenever it tells you that it happens. Otherwise, they don't. But yeah, so whenever you're crafting items, they just go in a pool. Hey, here's our pile of items that we can use. Oh, time to set up for the fight. Okay, what do you want to play with this time? Here you go. Now, we've meticulously...
So that's not how human brain works. Like, this is my stuff. I'm going to use this stuff.
Or it's just easier just to be like, okay, this is what's assigned to me. But there's no gear grid. There's no nothing on any of that. It's just...
But it's also streamlined, is a good word to put it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, 100%. But if you're wanting to be like, this is my character, like let's say you're playing a 4-player game, this is my character, you're not gonna feel as different of like, here's my build. Like, because nothing about the weapons that I chose is assigned to me.
Because they don't really have too much in the way of armor. It's not too detailed in a way. It's like you have like a chest plate, maybe a shield. Yeah, and then you might have your melee weapon. You have like what was it like? You get like a body slot, arm slots, and then a gear.
Yeah, pretty much. So, again, kind of like what you were saying, is the interim section of ATO is everything that's not a fight, so it can't take up too much time. Like, if you have to get through an exploration phase, and then a reading phase, and then a tech phase, and all that, we can't be sitting here trying to meticulously decide what we're building, and then also assigning it to specific people.
So remind me, so in ATO, so do you have like assigned times that you can craft?
I think
you can craft every day.
You can craft at any time, as soon as you have resources. The only times that are very specific are the techs, which there are the 2 tech decks,
right. And those are scheduled. So you get scheduled upgrades to your tech tree. So it's going to know what you're going to be capable of at certain points in the kind of the story.
Now it's not telling you what techs to build. I mean, but you have your projects deck, which will basically tell you, like, here's what we can make right now, and this. Like, it has a requirements and it has a leads to section. So this is the requirements. We need to have fought a Hecaton level 2 and have advanced trireme weapons. Okay, sure. We've done that. So we can craft this. And once we decide to craft that, the leads 2 cards we pull and put into the projects deck. It's like, here's all our techs, which could be Argo abilities, which are special abilities you can use in a fight. They could be... things you can use when you're diplomatizing, or when you're, like, we have one that's like Titan rearing, where it's like, hey, if you see a Titan icon, add a Titan, because you were, like, driving your ship, like, there's one! Get him! It's like a net, you just drag and pull him onto the...
Pig noises.
Yeah, you hog tie him up and throw him and put him in the fucking Titan.
You see, another day catching just 30-foot men. Just another day.
Exactly, with our city ship that...
Oh, look at the dick on that one! I want
that. Send him to my chambers. I don't think we have the room. Kill the runt. Yeah, so it feels like, especially when we talk about KDM's like interim section, like you said, it's streamlined. It's not exciting. I never really feel like whenever we're getting a tech that I'm like, ooh, it's more of like add it to the pile.
Yeah.
You kind of have a pile of items and you have a pile of techs. and they're there. They're serviceable, but I don't think we've once used a diplomatic tech. Like, because you can go to cities when you're exploring. You can go to cities, and it's like, hey, while you're in a city, here are actions you can do.
Yeah.
But because a lot of them are like, hey, if you have some strangers on your ship, here's ways like rhetoric. It's like, hey, you can kind of get rid of them. But we don't have any strangers, so we never do it. But because, again, that's tied to the story stuff, and we can have people, weirdos, sneaking onto our massive ship.
Yeah, what I like to envision it is like, so I like kind of dissonance on board. Like, strangers represents, kind of like morale in a way.
I think it's supposed to.
Yeah. I mean, it could be, it's like they make it represent so many different things.
It does.
But it's like, it could either be just like dissonance among the crew, just like, okay, this guy's not making good decisions.
Right.
Or, actual outsiders kind of like, I don't think they know they're good. That's spreading bad juju around.
Yeah,
but then like things like rhetoric, it's like, okay, this is our purpose.
Right.
Fall in line.
Yeah, I think they do explain that strangers is supposed to be a more ambiguous, not specifically like, who the fuck is that dude?
Yeah.
Why do we have so many strangers on our ship? It is supposed to be like, like discourse from like, because you have a massive city ship. They apparently the Inward Odyssey is you're walking and you're like, where the hell am I now? Like, this place is huge.
Right.
How are we piloting this?
We don't know.
Yeah, it's magic. Watch at the end. It's gonna be
engine.
It's gonna be all the gods chained up, like using their godly power. I thought they died. That's what we want you to believe.
Ooh, that'd be interesting.
Right,
there's
there's
a
just
bound god in there
tied down. But yeah, so. Personally, again, the interim section, again, kind of is combined specifically with ATO, the story, exploration, crafting. But while the items and stuff that you get, whenever you're like, oh yeah, I want to go range, and you try and build towards that, you do get that. I think whenever we talk about KDM, it's going to be overall, I think, it's way more in depth. Whereas this one leaned more into kind of like your narrative-driven story. This KDM leans way more mechanically.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good way to put it.
So, let's go to KDM.
Yes, in the KDM Interim. So you've just defeated your prologue lion or crocodile, and you started your first settlement. You've established your place in the darkness. So the settlement is kind of your engine. It's your method of birthing new survivors, becoming gradually more efficient in creating new survivors, to help you progress through the more and more difficult monsters. So let's see here. Where's a good place to start with the settlement? So as you fight new monsters, you unlock their locations. You're given a new resource called endeavors, which is essentially, the energy of the people, the collective, willpower that you can spend in different avenues.
They're like action points. Really.
Yeah, in a way. So like every survivor that returns from a hunt creates an endeavor.
Yep.
So you could have 4 if they have different attributes, like say Tinker or whatnot. They can generate a little bit more, or different convictions, which you unlock as you reach milestones within your settlement. So it's a lot more player driven.
Yeah.
Definitely. This isn't as structured as, say, ATO, because, it's got its timeline. You get technology here and here.
Right.
In KDM, it's like, okay, so here's all your resources. Do whatever the fuck you want with them.
Yeah.
Say, are you going to innovate, which is tied to your settlement. So, okay, we're barbaric, barely speaking people. We drool a lot. We shit ourselves. But it's like, oh, maybe we developed a house. We have houses now.
Right.
We can live. It increases your survival limit, which is a resource within the showdown phase. We can talk about that later. But now it's like, oh, I like living a little bit more. So it's a little thematically tied, because it's like, okay, life's not so bad. I've got a house.
And players dictate the innovations that they want. So there's a section where you can either become survival of the fittest or...
Yeah, so there's convictions that pop up as you reach milestones in the settlement. So once you reach 15 survivors, you got 15 people in your settlement. It's like, okay, we are a collective. What is our philosophy?
Yeah, do we want to be all like Spartan, where it's like we just want to survive, or do we want to actually have compassion? And that's where I think kind of gives the KDM, I know it's not narrative driven, but it kind of is like, oh yeah, this is a settlement that we've created.
Mm-hmm. So, like, with the resources that you do gain, so yeah, you can either upgrade your settlement, your innovations, you can unlock new settlement locations, or you can build the gear that is available at these settlement locations. Like, okay, we still got to go out and hunt, maybe, and then you can craft individual. So you have a gear grid of 3x3 with each of your survivors. So then each piece, head, body, arms, waist, and legs, all have a section for an armor piece. And
now,
then,
granted, in the 3x3 grid, you don't have to have a headpiece where you think the head goes. They can go wherever.
Yeah, they go. Yeah, you can assign them however you want to. They have an affinity system, so each piece of gear, if it say has like a little square on the red side, on the left side, and then you have another piece of the gear that has a square on its right side, and then they go together and they create one perfect square. You now have that whatever color that square is, that affinity, and they are used to activate different gear abilities within your grid. So a little more, definitely more mechanical on the individual fighter perspective.
Yeah.
A lot more thought. There's different abilities tied to each of the gear pieces.
Yeah.
There's if you have a complete armor set, you have a unique ability tied to the armor set, which they've just added the clothes and satiated one, which very nice.
Yes.
Just as long as you're wearing 3 pieces of gear, you can just say, hey, I've got clothes on, and
this
I'm well
is some
fed.
form of armor.
Yes, so you don't have to have a complete set to be in the meta.
To get the bonus.
So
now,
that's very nice.
The items, similar a little bit to ATO, they're not specifically assigned to a character. You're not taking these.
Yeah, they
pieces
can fly. You could treat them just like ATO and have them in a pool and
can.
redistribute them, but it's like, okay, you're essentially assigning them to a person.
Kind of.
Like, okay, this is your gear.
It feels a little bit better assigning it to a person in KDM, I think, because it's like, well, here are my stats, and me as a player, it's like, well, I want to be the ranger, so might as well just keep all the items specific to help me with that.
Right,
with this character.
This character may die, but then I still have all this gear.
Right.
I can just assign it to a new name.
Yeah, unless it's
he's got the bow now.
Irreplaceable. If you die and it's irreplaceable, then it's gone.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, oh nope, the gear. Okay, that was on Sam. Well, Sam had his head cut off, so now we're just gonna take his clothes. Sorry, it's sopping wet with blood. Put it on. Now it's on Bethany.
Yeah.
You can still do that.
Significantly, very mechanical.
You were saying it's not as structured. I actually think I think it is, but in a different way, because it is its own section. When you're like, we're done with the fight, we didn't do the hunt, which is basically part of the fight. It's like, this is what you're doing, versus everything in ATO. It's just interwoven with everything else.
I'd say I'm more structured in like the game skeleton, I guess, with ATO, because like you're gonna have like this much at this time. I think KDM's a little more liquid in that I could completely neglect my innovations.
That's true.
I could go full gear, or I could completely neglect. I could go more innovations, and then my gear's kind of shitty.
Yeah,
that kind of thing is kind of my I guess point there.
Okay.
I'm trying to think what else. So past your settlement phase, so yes, very mechanical. Essentially, this is your survivor engine. This is the small outcropping of individuals within the great deep darkness that you have awakened in.
Yeah.
Past that, you have your hunt phase. So once that is complete, you've done your story events, you've done your settlement event, you've done your innovating, you've crafted your gear, you've assigned your survivors to each other. And now you're ready to go out and hunt. Then you have the hunt phase. Anyway, so the way the hunt phase operates is you're on your way to find your chosen showdown monster. So the way it works is it's a straight line board. Just move one space at a time. The book's going to script to you which spaces have a monster hunt event, or they will have a standard hunt event if it doesn't have a monster hunt event tied to it. In the center of the board, you have overwhelming darkness. So if you're fighting above certain level monsters, so like the higher difficulty monster, the further back on the hunt track they're going to be. So it's going to be, like, say, if I'm going after a level 1 lion, I'm going to be moving, just like 4 spaces to get to him. So there's fewer events, fewer chances of luck occurring. So within the hunt events, there's ways of buffing your survivors and hurting your survivors. So you could...
Do you know what the ratio of that is? Has that ever been like, hey, it's 50-50?
I know, I keep bringing up Finn, but he did go through a full, like, piece by piece, and that's where I was able to tell you that the whip was very beneficial on the hunt.
Oh, okay.
Because he went through each one, it's like, okay, if you have pictographs, if you have this, when it calls for something to check, whip was like one of the number one.
Oh, okay.
It and like pictographs, so pictographs being your settlement's comprehension of written language. So they can write, they have ink and whatnot, and can record things. Until then you're just you can't read. You don't record anything. It's all verbal.
And then the whip, which as we were finding out is one of the best weapons in the game. It's definitely it's
repeatedly whipping a monster until it's just like I'm done. I give up. And
in terms of like an actual weapon, it sucks, but the power of the meme has really brought it to fore. Like, dude, every campaign there's gonna be a whip character.
The whip character, the whippy Bobby.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yes, within the hunt board, so you're fighting higher level monsters are further back on the hunt track. So you move space by space. It goes around the board. Each survivor getting a chance to be the hunt revealer. Mm-hmm. So there's different things that can happen during the event if you're the hunt revealer, or it asks you to nominate a survivor. So it can differentiate. Center of the board, you have Overwhelming Darkness. So that's your big nerf. That's you're going to take a debuff of some form or another. You're going to lose some survival, and there's just to make your harder monsters more difficult.
Yeah.
Now there's innovations and whatnot to more negate this. There's gear to negate that.
Now there's gear, yeah.
Yes.
Which is nice. Where it's like, hey, you just ignore that. Oh, cool, because I'm singing.
Yeah, because like if you innovate more music, you innovate your drums, and then you learn Forbidden Dance, and eventually get the Song of the Brave, which lets you just... Everybody gets to take the path of the brave when they go to the Overwhelming Darkness, which is the much nicer roll table.
Yeah.
But anyway, and then you reach your monster, and so different things could occur during the hunt that you might be ambushed, or you might ambush the monster.
Yep.
But it's very simple, very straightforward.
Yeah, I think the biggest benefit that KDM has is that settlement phase, where it's like, I mean, a lot of games don't really have that. Frosthaven has that now with like a settlement phase, but the fact that a big portion of your game is dictated by how you utilize your resources that you get from fighting monsters. With the new stuff, it seems to progress a lot more. Like, I feel like we've gotten our builds way quicker by this point than we have in the Lantern year, or the Year of the Lantern, or the Lantern campaign.
Yeah.
It was like, that one just felt super brutal.
Yeah, I felt like naked going against the Butcher before, but now this time when we went up against him, I'm like, I feel like we're pretty dripped.
Yeah, and it was like, it felt fair. It's like, we're still getting nicked, we're still bleeding, that's still a threat, but we're actually hitting him. Like, we're not like, oh god, who is this guy? But you get specialties. Like, again, you have the chance of building, I just want to fucking go all in on fists and just build up my strength. You have ways to get permanent upgrade. Your characters get permanent stats or negative stats. You get fighting arts. You get disorders. You get now these knowledges, which are now kind of like personal objectives. Like, hey, I want to get perfect hits. That's gonna creep up on this track. So you feel way more unique. You could go full in on support. Like, hey, I'm not going to be that great during a fight, but I'm going to sing a lot.
Yeah.
I have all these instruments that during the hunt, it's just like, oh, by the way, I have this. That benefits all of us until we get there. It's like, okay, hey, here's the monster. The three of you, go get him. Or my character that's like, hey, if I do my action and my movement, I can run forward as I'm singing, and that encourages everyone. So you have ways, I feel like, to build out your characters versus ATO, where it's like, my name's different.
Very streamlined, straightforward.
Yeah. KDM, I think, just has the creativity. Now,
of course, all that really cool, difficult to balance.
I was actually about to say,
like so, and that's the thing, which we're kind of getting to the showdown, but
we'll get there.
Yeah, where it's kind of like, either you're struggling and it's a really hard time, or you're smearing.
Exactly. Yeah, which we've had both instances of like, this isn't fucking happening. Hell, even in our recent campaign where we kind of like are mopping through a few level 2s, and then we fight level 1 Phoenix, and it's like, what the hell?
Right.
Like, it's like, did they modify him? Yeah, so I was going to say, maybe not balance, I was going to bring up meta. I don't know how much the meta has been fixed with, like, the new stuff, because I know in the original, it's like, man, if you can get some luck and a bow, you're going to win. I think just with the modularity.
And that's with the modularity, that was kind of the issue in the kind of the 1.5 right now. So right now we're seeing the beginnings of the new Gambler's Chest with the knowledge system. They're going more Ark Survivors, which is seemingly right now it's feeling a little bit more balanced with the new content.
Yeah, it almost feels like that they understood the balance issues and the meta, and that's why with like the Gambler's Chest stuff, it's like, you can't use any of the stuff.
Yeah, don't use the old stuff. You're using exclusively the new stuff, which is I definitely recommend that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the previous game. I'm sure. I mean, it's just that I got everything all at once, so I'm, of course I want to use all of my stuff. So any campaign I'm going into before pre-Gambler's Chest, I'm like, all of my expansions are in this.
Yeah.
And so with all of your expansions, so you now have access to everything.
Yeah.
So where the issue was like the Flower Knight.
Yeah.
Was not super hard. And gave out awesome gear. Manhunter just added more fights to your campaign.
Yeah.
He wasn't scripted. He was special showdowns. So he wasn't your nemesis.
Yeah.
He was his own standalone thing. Because it gave, like with Slender Man, he took the place of the Kingsman.
That's
previously. Right. But the Manhunter was his own add-on to it. So then you dependably defeat him. But regardless, the point I'm getting at is you get a lot of stuff that would make the campaign fairly trivial. Yeah. And it's very easy to smear your campaign past that. So if I just played the stripped down core game, it might have been very balanced. Yeah, and because I've just never played the core game exclusively core game.
I guess that's true. Yeah, and it definitely feels like with Gambler's Chest or 1.6, they were like, none of that. Stop that shit. Play it like this, and then the only way to play this is if you take something out and add something in, which is smart.
Yeah, it definitely needs that with the extra things. Yeah. Granted, it seems like with the release of the Black Knight, because they had rules to add him to the Gambler's Chest, and I'm like, and he's adding in, but he's a Node 3 nemesis,
right?
So, anyway.
But yeah, so basically between the two, with the interim section, that's not the fight or reading in ATO's case. If you don't want to meticulously manage resources and bookkeep and have to write, now granted, just get the app, KDM Scribe or ATO Odyssey, get the apps. But if you're like, I fucking hate technology, then fine, write it all fucking down. You're going to have a lot more with your character. You get to name your character. I know we've done where it was all Roger characters. We have done all biblical names. I think you always have to have a buck or something in your characters.
I haven't had a buck in the last campaign. I need to add a buck.
Yeah. I'm like, I feel like you've always
I always have an Old Joe and I always have a buck.
Old Joe, that's it, yeah. You name them, and then you manage a bunch more stuff in KDM, but you're going to feel unique. Now, what I was saying before we had to swap SD cards, don't get attached, because your best fighter can die just like anyone else through bad rolls, and you don't get re-rolls.
Yes, I believe very very unique, very thematic. Yes. But does it feel good? No, it does not feel good.
It could be very frustrating.
And I feel like ATO saw that, and I feel like they definitely changed that for the better in a way. I mean, it's very similar to your characters can, they made it to where when you are fighting, I know I'm jumping in the showdown right now. But if they die, it's the Husk, the Titan that you controlled against its will to fight on your behalf, will die. But your pilot, your character, continues and just pilots another Titan.
Right.
But in KDM, that's your survivor. He's dead.
Right.
He's dead.
Yeah.
Gone.
Yeah. And so what I have done, because I had this huge aversion to KDM, now I don't, because I don't have any money tied to it.
And I'm just like, I'm not a hoarder.
Yeah, he has everything, and I'm like, hell yeah, I'll play your game with the new stuff, and I'm having a fantastic time. But I went in, and I'm like, I'm making meme characters. Devin has always told me that whips were bad, and I'm like, bet. And so I made a character.
They're bad.
They're bad, which they're not amazing. Weirdly enough, the whips don't have reach. Like, reach 2 or something. It's like really? But at least the whips I'm having, I don't know if any of them actually do. But anyway, so I made a character from the very beginning, Whippy Bobby. He was the one who actually killed the crocodile the first time. And then he died. I don't remember how he died, though. But it was something that was like, that feels appropriate. So my next character was Whippy Bobby the Second. And then he was good for a while. Oh, no. It still is Whippy Bobby the Second.
Yeah.
But
he just lost his name.
He lost his name from the mask guy, right?
Yeah, so he's the third.
So he's the third. He's like, I'm thinking Whippy Bobby the Third. But he's still the second, because he's still alive. And he's actually our badass character, but then something happened. Oh, yeah, he had PTSD, and he had to sit out for a little bit. He's also our murderer. So inevitably the settlement is going to kill him.
Yes.
But anyway, so that's the kind of stuff you get with all the interim stuff, the builds that I decided to do. But with a meme character, if he dies, I'm going to be like, that fucking sucks, because he had a shit ton of luck, and he has this mask, and he's awesome. Whippy Bobby the Fourth. There we go. So, between the interim sections, I'm definitely leaning KDM. Like, I don't know if you agree or disagree with that.
I mean, if you're looking more mechanically inclined, like kind of crafting your engine or whatever, however you want to look at it, there's a lot more thought, a lot more time, a lot more recording with the KDM portion. It
is definitely
articulating
part of the game,
your gear grid, your survivors, trying to cure your disorders, other bullshit. Yeah, a lot more about ATO, very streamlined. You're going, you're moving forward. Okay, it's scripted. Okay, we get, here's our events. We get these resources. This location, we have these nodes. Like, okay, these story events, which help kind of build your universe.
Yep.
Because they're very expansive story events, and not just like a roll D10, what the event is.
Exactly.
Is it a cool event? You rolled a 10 and cool things happen, or is it a shitty event? And it's a 1 and your guy just dies.
That's very true. That's very true. I think we had a character that I rolled on the brain trauma, and it was like a 3 or a 4, and you're like, yeah, they died. And I'm like, really? 3 or a 4, huh? Yep, they do. It's like, oh, okay, that's that, I guess. So, right now, going into the big section of both of these games, we actually have, if you're comparing, 2 to KDM and 2 with ATO. Where KDM is in the lead with price and components and the interim, whereas ATO is in for structure and story and exploration. So now we're going into boss fights! So, I think to do boss fights, because ATO is so heavily inspired by the way KDM has done their boss fights, we can probably just kind of talk about both of these at the same time.
Yeah.
Because generally, ATO doesn't exist without KDM, honestly. Like, at least its fights don't.
Yeah.
Because it's very, very similar. With some major differences. So
let's just kind of take it apart section by section,
sure.
I guess. So, I guess, what's a good way to start with it?
So basically, you pick a query or a fight.
Yes. So, yeah, what you're throwing down with.
Yep, and they will have levels that will dictate kind of their passive abilities.
Like, are they going to have, more strength? More, are they going to attack more?
Correct. Their movement, how hard they are to hit, and kind of like their traits. So, in the way that KDM does it is all kind of more card-based. Like, their traits and stuff are built off their cards. Whereas ATO actually has their fights on a sheet of their character. And it's like, okay, level 3 has these passives plus all the ones above it. And it's all dictated down there, whether it's whatever. Hey, now, if it tramples you, it fucking kills you.
Yeah, where at KDM, it's like you have their descriptor card, which is the face of their deck. On the back of it has their basic action, so if they have no cards left, that's what they do.
Yep.
It's going to tell you, exactly, all their traits, their toughness, your core number. Essentially, it's going to give you some numbers to add to the cards that you reveal. So, like, if you're just using the cards, that's like their very base, weakest form.
Yep.
Is going to be the numbers you're going to read. But then if it's a higher level, you're going to have to reference the cards. Like, okay, so they have speed +1, so whatever my listed speed is, I add 1 to it. So now they are rolling 2 dice for 2 attacks.
Yep. So, and then also what's different is kind of in the overall setup. In the showdown phase for KDM, your terrains are random.
It can depend on the monster.
That's true.
So usually they'll have a few scripted pieces.
Yeah.
So say you're going after the lion, you have scripted tall grass.
Yep.
And then it's either 1 or 2 random terrains. And the terrains can wildly change your combat, believe it or not.
During the Phoenix, was that Halberd? Was that scripted or was that random?
It was random. Yeah.
Which saved the fight.
The scripted part was the scripted part was the tree in the center.
That's right.
That he perched upon.
Correct. And ATO doesn't have random terrain.
Very scripted.
It's like, boom, here's the layout of the fight. This is where the terrain pieces are going to be. That's it. You don't shuffle a random terrain thing.
Like, where's the word? Curated.
Yeah,
I love that word.
that's true.
They know how their fights need to play out.
That is true. Which is actually very interesting because I never even took that into consideration of just how meticulously designed ATO was. Almost how we talked about Oathsworn. Like, Oathsworn is very specifically designed to be a certain way. KDM is like,
Yeah, it can happen. Like, yes, they're like, okay, these are very powerful monsters, but, say if you draw the Dead Monster, which is like the best terrain card, essentially you come onto the field, your monster that you're hunting just polished off this other monster, it's distracted and eating it, and you essentially get a free ambush.
Oh, okay.
So you just start on top of the monster.
There he is!
As he's like eating, and you just start wailing on him.
Yeah. Yep, you don't have that in ATO. Also, what's majorly different, again, during its setup, is the cards for the monsters in ATO are the same. There are the 3 levels of its attack cards and its body part cards.
So it's so essentially they're hit locations.
You have your hit locations, and then they're AI cards.
Yeah, so then they're leveled and are gradually increased.
They gradually increase as the fight goes on, whereas KDM, when you're setting up the deck, it's based off its level. Okay, it has this many basic, this many advanced, and this many special.
So that's where they differ. So here in ATO, you strike a monster. He has only level 1 hit locations.
Yep.
At the beginning, and so easier to wound, less rewarding.
Yep.
But exactly, easier to wound. So you strike it, you wound it. The level 1 is removed.
Yep.
And now you add a level 2. Correct.
Yep. So they have what's called. This is the major difference between the fights. In Aeon Trespass, they have what's called their inverted paradigm system. I think is because it's trademarked. They even have a little TM next to it. And what that means is this is the overall, I guess this could have been put in the structure, but for boss fights specifically, the biggest difference between the two, in that in KDM, your fight dwindles down. Meaning that as you damage the monster, it gets weaker. As you get damaged, you get weaker. In ATO, as you damage the monster, it gets stronger. As you get damaged, you get stronger.
Yeah.
So and they specifically talk about it, they're like fights ramp up instead of wind down, which is something that is hugely different because, like Devin said, if you wound a level 1 monster, it's not like, oh, hey, now it's getting weaker. It's like, no, now it's pissed off because these are primordial things that just wipe the gods out. That now that level 1 card gets taken out and the level 2 body part gets shuffled in. And you also remove a level 1 AI card and put in a level 2.
Right.
So you are kind of more shuffling a lot more. It's not like, here's the decks, we're leaving them. So you are kind of constantly interweaving things. So because you shuffle them in, your very next card could very well be the level 2. And it's like, oh shit, we just started the fight and it's already doing a level 2 AI card.
Yeah.
And our next hit to location is a level 2, which is significantly more difficult to wound. But even if you do wound it, you take out that 2, take out another 2, and put in the level 3.
So we're KDM, and you're battling a monster. So its AI deck, its abilities that it's going to wield against you, are also its hit points.
Yeah.
So where it has like this large arsenal of abilities at the beginning, as you begin wounding it, 1, 2, 3, 4, they're removing cards. It's getting dumber. It's getting less varied.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but you're going to see the same cards you've already seen, though.
Yeah.
So if he uses his advanced, intimidation ability, if he uses Hack City, where that's possibly a instant kill on a survivor, that's coming back.
Yeah.
So if that card's been played, so it's not in the pool of hit points anymore. It'll be reshuffled back in, but essentially that one's kind of unavailable to wound right now.
Yeah.
So, or if they pull a legendary card and they're going to use this legendary ability, that's still in the cycle. And so there can be situations where they're down to 2 cards, and he's just going to be Hack Citying you over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
And then when he's Berserk, he's like draws another card. So then he gets 2 Hack Cities.
Oh, isn't that the way you can go infinite?
No, it's there's this one ability called Infinite Kick.
Oh,
where if his last card
kicks you to death.
where his last card is he does a kick, draw another AI card.
Yeah.
If he only has the kick, he just keeps kicking until you're done.
You're dead. Yeah, so which again, both ways are extremely thematic in different ways because, and I think they work for the worlds that they're in. So, for example, you're fighting creatures, like you're fighting animals in KDM. They're hybrid, horrific animals like the screaming antelope. It's like, its whole body is a mouth that it can devour you, but it's still an antelope. So if you're hacking off, limbs and, sewing its mouth shut and fucking it up, well, then it eventually goes to its baser form where all it does is just try and run away from you for pure survival instincts. And it's like, and you are barbarians. It's like, hey, we were Neanderthals at one point, and it's like, oh, that buffalo's running off. Let's corner it and kill it. That's exactly what it does. So as the deck dwindles down, it's like, well, its available actions are going to be lesser because it's bleeding and dying.
Instinctual. It's going to kind of keep repeating itself.
Right. Or against the Nemesis, like you mentioned, where it's like, okay, all the articulate maneuvers that the butcher was doing, well, you beat the shit out of him, and now he's just like berserk, just gonna start swinging his cleavers. Yeah, that all makes sense. It sucks mechanically, but you could also have its legendary card never show up.
Yeah,
because that was the top card. You hit it, okay, it's gone now.
Yes,
you will never see that because they don't heal, and that's one good thing about these games that I have yet to find is they don't heal. I think there are some ways.
Some can. It's rare, but it does occur.
Yeah, but for the most part, they don't get their cards back, which is nice. And then the way ATO does it is, well, because these are still, the Hecaton is this creature made of fists and rock. It's still, like, they even say, I think, in the rulebook that whenever you wound it, it's not used to being wounded. So it, kind of, berserks out, because it's like, well, we showed up and just demolished these, gods. How the hell were you able to get past our Aeon Trespass, our shield, and you wound it? And it's like, it freaks out, so it just gets more enraged. And it works for the Titans as well, which is really cool, in that you don't take damage. They have danger. They have I think it's called Trireme. It's not Trireme. Triskelion.
Well, I thought, but I definitely want to get to the individuals and the survivors.
Yeah,
and that's a really cool theme. But I thought we might talk about the crits.
Oh, yes.
Since we were just talking about hit locations and kind of how they
Yep.
modify as we wound them.
Cool.
I felt like a crit differential might be.
Nope, that's a good point. So, with the crits, it is very difficult to crit in ATO.
Yeah, they give you a specific dice.
You always roll a white die. So if you're going to attack, and let's say it's with a sword, Siren Teeth, you have 2 sets of dice in ATO. You have your D10s and your D6s, which are different colors. But basically, when you're rolling to hit, you always roll 1 white die along with your number. So if you're rolling 3, if it's a speed of 3 off your sword, you roll 1 white and 2 black. Your white die is the only die that can crit, which is a nat 10. And if you crit, then you check the body parts. So it's kind of like how KDM does it, where it's like, okay, I hit, let me see what I'm trying to get, and that will have an AT number, the Aeon Trespass number, and that's when you roll the D6s to get certain symbols based off the weapons and your Titan and all that. You roll those, and if you get a certain number, like 4 hits, and you needed 4, then you have critically wounded that location.
Yes. So he's like, not only do you have to roll the 10, and then you further have to then confirm it and actually win.
Pretty much, yeah. Which is not uncommon in some games where it's like other games are like, hey, you have to hit, and then now you still have to wound.
Yes.
Yeah, so not only do you have to roll a 10 on one die instead, like you could roll 2 10s on the black, but if your white is a 3, you still hit, but it's just not going to be a critical.
So what are what are some of the rewards in ATO for critting? So what have we seen occur when we do crit locations?
Some have instant deaths, others create structures. If you critically wound a level 3 location, one that counts as 2 hits, like 2 wounds.
Yeah.
And that also gives you a core. But because you don't crit a lot in ATO.
Yeah, very hard.
I can't.
Yeah, sometimes it's gear. Sometimes you give you straight up gear. Like you shave off a piece of its back. And now you have this giant
now you have the shield. So similar stuff to the way KDM does it, but I can't specifically tell you here's all the options because it doesn't happen a lot.
Right. So I just a lot of the nerfing of the monster, does that occur? With certain locations?
No,
have we seen that?
They can have permanent debuffs. They can get debuffs. They can get, because there's tokens for that. I think they can have similar things to kind of the way KDM does it, where it's like, hey, you broke its leg, so now it might affect this other card. But I don't remember.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah. I'm gonna find a talk about KDM's crit system. So with KDM, it's one, it's significantly easier to crit. Significantly. But they do it in kind of a reverse way, because talking about ATO, it's like, man, rolling that D10 is really sexy, but and it's so hard to crit. But then the fact that you have to confirm it after is like, that's not super feel goody.
Yeah.
Well, with KDM, it's like, so in KDM you roll to hit, followed by you roll to wound. You crit on the wound roll, not the hit roll. Right. On the hit roll, you get what's called, if you roll a D10, Lantern 10, you get what's called a perfect hit, which is strictly tied to gear effects, game effects. Like a perfect hit doesn't get you anything traditionally, short of it's always going to hit. Doesn't matter what their toughness is. You will always hit on a Lantern 10. But depending on, let's say, a fighting art or a knowledge, you might get extra strength, or you might just get a fucking free wound if it's the oddly weighted hammer or whatever it's called. I forget.
Yeah. Certain game effects affect the perfect hit, but naturally doesn't.
So then once you've rolled 2 dice, you got 2 hits. So Seth draws me 2 hit location cards. From there, now that I'm rolling to wound, which is based off their toughness, so I take that, their dice rolled, plus my strength of my character, their natural strength, plus the strength assigned to the weapon, add those 3 values together. That's my wound number. Did I beat the toughness threshold?
Yep.
Now, if I roll a Lantern 10, innately with 0 luck, another stat in the game, that's a crit.
Yep.
I get a crit. Now, if I have luck on my character, or if my weapon is deadly, I get to reduce the critical value. So you could get where you're critting on 7s and above, or if you have
if you're Whippy Bobby,
the titular death mask.
You basically have a 50-50 chance.
You have it, anytime you're wounding, which is just all the time.
Yeah.
So then you're critting, and then the critting is so powerful in KDM, almost too much so, because it's you bypass the top of the card. Yep. Now, granted, you can only crit if the location has a critical location, which is listed on the bottom. But if it has no critical location, you can't crit. There's no critting.
And unless I'm mistaken, I'd have to look back through all the cards. ATO, I think every card has a crit on it, as well as kind of what you do get to ignore the top effects. It bypasses
so you don't get the
reactions.
reflex, you don't get the where retributes on you. It's just you cut right through, wound the monster. You get the critical effects, which is sometimes a benefit. Very rarely it can hurt you. Very rarely, but that does happen.
Yeah, because there's reflex, failure, and wound.
Yes.
ATO, I think, has the exact same thing. Yeah, so it's like, hey, no matter what, reflex is going off. No matter if you wound it, that's going off. If you miss, it's going off. Crits bypass that if you do.
Right. And generally, you're getting things like extra resources most of the time. It might tie to, they now have this crippling injury, like broken tooth.
Yep.
So now you take that hit location out, put it on board, like, okay, he's got this effect. So when you pull an AI card later and you read, broken tooth, this occurs instead of the attack, or this attack minus whatever strength because he is missing these teeth.
Exactly.
So crits significantly easier, very feel good, can happen a lot, and can also make the game trivial.
Right.
So again, that's where it favors ATO in a way that it's balanced. Like,
it is.
Every fight is a stress.
Yeah, it's kind of like the way you could look at crits specifically is like very few and far between. But man, if you crit and you confirm it, it's gonna be like
it's
gonna feel awesome. Versus like another crit. Like my character has a whip and the death mask. We're fighting these nerds. These smog singers, and I just bullied them because I crit, which means I got to advance on him as he's cowering. I just keep. It's like, I keep critting. He's fucking dead. All right.
Why are you hard?
Who, him? Yeah, so it's like if you're critting all the time, then it's like, it makes it trivial, and you're like, I guess we'll fight a level 3, but it could give you a sense of false expectation. You're like, I guess every fight's gonna be like this, and you fight a Phoenix level 1 thinking it's gonna be a cakewalk, and it's like erased from existence. Whereas ATO again, it's like, yes, I got a 10 on that. Okay, come on, we need 6. Fuck, 6 is hard to get. Okay, but we got this, and yes! Like, so you get more, it feels better because it's so rare.
Yeah.
But I can see some people thinking that it's a
just
little
too hard.
It's a little too rare. It's like, come on. Like, but yeah, when you do crit, it's still the same effects. But also, the way the monsters are designed, you don't have, you have a deck for KDM monsters versus, I think there are 6 cards in each level, but you're not going to see them all. You just won't, unless you're just absolutely not wounding at all. So, eventually, you just don't know what cards are coming out. And that system, I think, is really, really cool. The inverted paradigm system. I think that again, I like them both. But for me, fighting the monster specifically always feels like a battle till one of you is victorious. Whereas in KDM, it's like it's another one. It's another lion that we're going out to kill. And we're really doing it for the resources. So the only excitement you get is fighting at a higher level, which again is very curated in ATO. Eventually it's like, nope, no more level 1. You can be a Lanternier 29 and be like, let's fight level 1 White Lion, which I think we were doing in our first campaign. From the gap from 25 to 30, we didn't have anything to do. So it's like, let's just go fight queries, I guess.
Yeah.
And this is like, nope, okay, you're done. Like, you only have these 2 options, so now they're gonna be level 3 at some point. Then we get into the characters, like how they interact with the monsters. And very similar to how the monsters work, where they ramp up, the characters, or the titans in this case, also ramp up. And that's what's also very fascinating, that your characters don't take danger, or don't take damage, it's danger, is what they call it.
Yeah, because they have 3 stats.
3 stats off their Triskelion, which is their rage.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like every time you attack, you increase, and that's these are all ways that your character can die. So you kind of have. I was gonna say you have more chances to die, but not really, because you can just get snuffed in KDM. Your characters can just instantly die. But basically, it's dials. You have rage, danger, and fate. And so all of these are dials that go up to 9. And basically, if anything forces you to go to above 9, like Rage, for example, is thematically, it's too barbaric, it's too insane, and that it dies.
Overwhelms the system,
just,
and it has to shut the Titan
correct.
down, right?
It's like, well, that thing died. Danger is its health. It got 2 damage and it died that way. And Fate is you tempted Fate too much, and just Fate, the Sisters of Fate, just are like, nope, okay, that's enough for you.
So it's like, so in battles with an ATO, it's you're always a balancing act between these 3 stats.
The 3 stats.
So like, okay, monster hits you. Oh, I'm taking a lot of danger.
Right.
I'm attacking the monster, or events are occurring to crank up my rage. So now my rage goes up. I have new dice. I'm more powerful.
Yep.
And then you have your fate. So it's like, I'm rolling like shit. I'm going to spend some fate, get a reroll. Or if you're using weapons that kind of, or say easier to use, which I thought was really cool with ATO. It's like, so in KDM, your bows set you up. Your distance, I'm like, oh, this is easy.
Right. I'm going to stand on the stone face, get extra range, and just...
But with ATO, it's like, okay, if you're using a bow, you have to take fate every time you use it.
Right.
Which is like an interesting balancing measure to make them. So it's just to fire this weapon, you have to take fate. So not only you have to crank up your fate and your rage to use a bow.
And also it's like, oh shit, I'm wheeling around my arrows.
Yeah.
So it's like, it takes me an action or my movement to re-knock it. Yeah, there's a lot of more intricate systems with the combat, I'd say, within the fighting, because, like you said, rage goes up every time you attack, at least 1. And actually, who the priority target is based off whoever has the most rage. But you have a track that will determine, hey, the higher my rage is, the more dice I get to attack, and the more tokens I get to dish out. Which is another really cool system that ATO is very group dependent. It's like, okay, hey, I'm going to go first because then to help you wound, because we have a 2 on top, and I can dish out 4 tokens, I'm going to go hit. I'm probably not going to hit, but at the end of my turn, I can give you tokens. They go in this pool. The Kratos pool.
ATO uses the opening and break tokens.
Yeah.
So break tokens essentially turning different results on your dice that you're more likely to do more wounds. Or you have the opening tokens, which reduces the value you have to roll to actually land a hit.
Exactly.
So this person can go in thematically, not doing any damage, but they leave all these tokens for the next person, so now the monster was distracted, or there's a little break in its armor before it regenerates, and you can come in and take advantage of that.
Exactly.
So it kind of gives you a mechanical way of this thematic element.
Exactly. And on top of that, during the combats, you have Argo abilities that you can use. There's an outside source where it's like an arrow volley that from the ship, it could shoot, and you could be like, okay, now it's easier to hit. But, like I said, rage is something that can trick up, and it's like it's kind of like when you're playing Cthulhu Death May Die, if you remember that game. You want to get more insane, so you get more dice to use, but if you ever hit your threshold, you go insane and you die. In this, it's the same way. It's like, I'm at 8 rage, guys. Like, I'm probably going to lose control of this thing. And then the danger is also extremely cool, because there's the 4 decks. 3. No, minor... Yeah, minor, major, grave, and obol.
An obol, yeah.
And basically, when you take damage, you have a little thing on your Titan sheet that's like, I took 4 damage. That's a major, and it's a deck. And those are fucking cool because they could be really good.
They could be buffs.
They could be buffs where it's like you just get knocked to the ground, and it's like, boom, like enraged Titan or something, and it's like stand back up and get a free hit. They could also be very detrimental, where it's like
you could draw a major, which we just really didn't think is going to kill you, but it's like, oh, you get this last turn, then you die.
Right? Or it's like if you ever hit a threshold where I think it's if you go over 14. Well, I think if you go over 14, you have to draw an obol, but eventually you'll draw an obol, and there were. Before certain sections, there was a you live, you die. You
so the obol deck is 2 cards.
It's 2
you
cards.
Live, you die.
Yep. But now there's the you die. I think it's you die, but you roll a d10, and if you roll a 10, you awaken. That's so people were actually talking about, hey, we haven't, like, some games we're seeing awakenings happen a lot, and others weren't seeing it happen at all, and they were like, well, if it's happening a lot, that means they're not doing well. That means they're drawing obols a shit ton and rolling 10s. If you're not drawing obols, then you're doing well. I'm like, yeah, that's true. That was a way for you to just, like, think you were going to die and then just...
Cool!
So they had that. There's also ways that it's like, if you take so much damage over a certain threshold, you basically have to add in cards to the Obel deck that basically...
So you have 2 you dies and 1 you live.
Exactly. Yeah. But again, those minor, major, and graves, even though they go up to grave, they could still be really good for you. Mm-hmm. So that's really cool. And then my favorite part is the Fate system, which KDM has none of. Not even, actually they have like 1 instance. But basically, Fate is whenever you are rolling dice, you can tick up your Fate a certain number when you want to re-roll dice. Which basically, you get to re-roll your D10s. You can't re-roll armor or your attacks. Mm. But there's a balance to that as well, because as the higher your Fate is, when the enemy is going, it's like, okay, it's doing this attack. What's your Fate at? Is it above 3? Yes. Okay, now every attack does 3 damage instead of the 2.
Yeah.
So you've tempted fate too much that it might actually cause certain effects to happen against you. But that's the risk. And you don't have to. You can just be like, well, that sucks. I missed. My fate's at 7. I don't think I'm going to use it to re-roll. Or I really want to wound this. So maybe I'll try. It's just like that Triskelion system is just so fucking cool. Because another thing, talking about like kind of going back to the monsters, is when the monsters attack, it's reversed a little bit. You basically roll evasion. The monster will always hit. So whenever you're rolling dice, it's the D10s you're rolling are basically, it's like, hey, 9s or 10s will cause this to miss.
Yeah, so it's not so much like you're rolling for the monster to hit you. It's like, okay, monster's hitting. Can you get out of the way?
Exactly. Like it's pretty much the same, just thematically a little bit different. Where it's like, nope, these Titans are going to get hit. Can they dodge out of the way or not?
But it's a little bit more player involvement, I guess. You're rolling for your own shit.
That is true.
I'm rolling to not die.
Exactly.
Not like I'm the monster controller. Do you die?
Right. So that's a big major difference with the ATO boss fights, where the inverted paradigm system and the Triskelion dials, which each character has, or each Titan has. And there are different Titans that you can get that have different special abilities and different rage tracks and different thresholds for damage and stuff like that.
So, which leads to, it definitely feels like it's a very balanced system.
Yeah.
Like, every time we fought in ATO, we're like, sweating.
Someone's
going down.
Yeah.
Almost every time. Like, 1 or 2 are going, it's a good fight if nobody went down. But yeah, someone's going down, and we're always kind of like on our heels a little bit.
Yeah. Or we're like, we're like, you know what, let's fight the Labyrinthoros, and we're just constantly getting our ass beat. And it's like, I hate this guy!
Yeah.
Like, jeez! Like, the Hecaton, I feel like we got down, even though it's still balanced. But even then, the Hecaton now has the thing where it's like, oh yeah, the edges of the board, that's a cliff now.
Yeah.
It's like, and he just pushes you back and you fall off, but the Labyrinthoros drops maze tiles down, and it's like constantly trampling us, and it's like, oh god, he keeps going in through space and time and into the maze, and we can't hit him, and he trampled you, and you're dead now. So I guess you could talk about the survivors in KDM fights.
Yeah, in KDM, like, so... Again, where we talked about when we were talking about the interim, the settlement phase, so your characters are very much tied to how you have built them. So, what armor set did you pick? What weapons do you have equipped? What accessories do you have? Am I geared up in, like, rawhide armor? Is my survival going to go further? Can I help my fellow survivors? What is my philosophy? Do I have additional survival tokens where you have more I guess I can't really say, I guess, more tactical options in a way with KDM. So with each monster card, it has these flow markers, and within the flow markers are an option for you to spend survival to use survival action. So, say a monster has a more complex AI card that just got pulled. It's like, pick its target. So, target's been chosen, and I'm like 4 spaces away. But hey, maybe my movement is 6. So, this monster has chosen me as his target regardless. He's going to do his full move, he can get to me. But during the flow, I could say dash. And I spend my survival, and I could move my full movement, and he will continue to follow me because I'm already the chosen target. And if he can't get to me, it's like a dash cancel.
Yeah.
His old action is nullified, and I have moved out of the way.
Which is a huge difference in KDM. There's the survival,
Yes,
which is basically a resource.
Yes, a pool of survival that you can spend. So to represent that, it's their push to want to continue to live.
Yeah.
So the more of those points you have, so what you get from your innovations, essentially. Like I can have more survival if I have more. We have houses, we have written knowledge, that kind of thing. Life is better, so I want to continue to live. So I have.
I'm having a lot of sex, and I want to keep having.
I want to keep having all that sex, or you just have this loser character. I'll have one survival. Like fuck it, I'll die. I don't care. But anyway,
my parents named me Whippy Bobby.
Yeah.
God, I hate whips.
Yeah.
Like, Dad, I'm thinking about getting out of the whip industry. What the fuck you saying?
so with Aeon's Trespass, you're gonna have you have less gear. You have your armor. You have a few weapons.
Yes. Well, real quick, you were talking about the flow system. ATO also has that. It's with a little exclamation point, and unlike KDM, where it's like, hey, here's the icon, you can spend survival to do whatever you want in that section. ATO is like, here's that exclamation point. Does any of your gear have that? If it doesn't, you can't do anything about it.
Okay, interesting.
So it's a little bit easier, because I remember the flow thing being weird originally, where it's like, wait, what? But now it makes sense, where it's like, hey, no, you have survival, just do, like I think where it's like, hey, in between that, I'm going to encourage you so you can get out, you're not adjacent to it.
Right.
And ATO is like, okay, well, before this thing is about to do this action, oh, hey, I have this thing that lets me move. Mm-hmm. If you don't have that with the exclamation point, you can't do anything.
Okay. I don't. Yeah, we must not have encountered that.
We don't have a lot of it. I think we do have one that
because we're still pretty early in ATO. We've done a lot of KTM.
We have done way more KDM than ATO at this point, just because KDM's been out way longer, and ATO is still relatively new, and I'd say longer to play. But anyway, I was on the flow system. Yes.
So and like things so we're talking about individual. What you can do is like survivor characters.
Correct.
But essentially you're anything within your gear grid. So between your survivor stats, abilities, disorders, the gear that they are equipped with, that's your arsenal against the monster, which is really cool, self-made. But difficult to balance is going to be kind of the downfall here. Like they are your baby. You crafted them. You put the pieces together. They have survived this long. You have named them. So all their default, all their problems and benefits is like you have to deal with all of them during your fight. Can they only run straight lines? Do they pass out when they end their turn next to the monster? Does blood freak them out? That kind of thing. Yeah. So they can be very weak. They can
even little things like now with the knowledge system, my character, my murderer, Whippy Bobby, if he's the only one left with another survivor, he kills him.
He kills him. It's just like you and me. I'm gonna murder you.
It's like, oh, okay, Whippy, just me and you. Yes, just me and you. Just now it's me and the monster. Shit, we didn't kill him. He's very healthy. Damn it.
That's great. But to get in there, so let's see here. We talked about the survival. So different survival actions where you can dash, you could surge, where you essentially get an additional attack.
Yeah. Which you don't get additional attacks unless a trauma.
Yeah. So you can really if it's like a trivial monster, you can just fucking lay into it. So if you go in after something a little lower leveled. You can just fucking smear it to pieces.
Yep. Again, and KDM has that grind. That's part of the showdown. Is like we need a specific resource to finish out this weapon. We're not getting it. Okay, I guess this year we'll go and fight a level 1 again. Or some items require you to fight a level 3. So like the delicate hands for the Smog Singers, it's like we haven't gotten it.
Yeah. So another thing to touch on with KDM is that it did have in earlier editions more difficulty in making you want to go after more difficult foes.
Yeah.
Which I believe they're working on correcting with the collective cognition system.
Yes. Which I like a lot.
Because before you could just fight level 2s in KDM and they're not bad. And it's like you get plenty of resources and enough to kind of carry you through to the final showdown. Yeah. Which is like, okay, but we have these very powerful, very unique level 3s. When I just want to fight these, it's like, but those are going to kick my ass.
Yeah.
But I'm getting plenty of resources doing this.
Right.
But with the collective cognition system giving you another overarching, essentially level up for your settlement, to encourage you to fight new monsters.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I'm just going to go and kind of do a basic summary here. Is that KDM, yes, you have a lot of creative license with your individual survivors. A lot. But, and you get to choose essentially what you're going to be going after to fight. But the balance itself within the showdown can be off.
Yeah.
Like, you can be crushing this monster, and it's like, we're doing this. We've got this in the bag. No
You've
problem.
had campaigns where it's like, should we even finish?
Yeah.
Like, our characters
it's like,
cannot
we're going to
fight.
smear this thing.
Yeah.
Where, you know, in ATO, every fight's been a struggle, been a stressor.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'll go back to KDM real quick. You know, if you are losing, generally you're going to keep losing in KDM. Like, if they have you on the ropes, you're going to continue to have a rough time.
Right.
It definitely struggles with the balance, but it comes with the creative license it gives you.
Exactly.
Because I can do all these cool things and have really cool survivors that are mine with my gear, but it's not curated.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of making my own
The
experience.
balancing almost comes with the sheer randomness, where it's like, I'm seeing all these monsters, but I happen to roll a 1, and the Harvester just ate all my characters, and now they're all gone.
Yeah, or the monster pulled its legendary card, and now it's going to fucking smear this
You
survivor.
get kicked to death by the Butcher.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, that sucks.
Definitely a little more of the random fuck-ups can really throw you off there.
In ATO's combat, I don't think we've ever lost. I don't think we've had a full party wipe, but it's like...
It definitely stresses you out.
It does.
It definitely makes it close.
Right. Well, hell, even the Nemesis, where it's like... And even the big bad that just showed up one time. It's like, oh shit, are we actually doing this? And they basically are like, get this many wounds. You wound it 3 times, you can leave.
Yeah.
You can keep fighting. And it's like, no, let's get out of here. Because it's like, hey, we're just giving you a little taste. This Nemesis, he's just fucking with you. He's toying with you. Like, that's what he wants to do. And it's like, okay, whew, barely got out of there. But yeah, every fight where it's like, we haven't lost, but it's like, you're losing Titans. And that's not that big of a deal. Because it's like, oh, who cares? Like, we have 9 more on board. Whereas, oh shit, we lost 2 characters. They kind of had a lot of good abilities that we were using. So, overall, who would you give the edge on boss fights?
Well, it really depends on the experience you're looking for.
That is true.
You know, because they are markedly different in, like, so you can have those close fights in KDM, but losses hurt a lot more. Because these are your survivors. These are people that you've been recording data for a while.
True.
That you've been fighting with. And then when you lose them, that sucks.
Yeah.
So close fights. So close fights hurt more. You know, you can't just lose 1 or 2 because that's like, oh shit, those are our survivors, not our core 4.
Yeah, because if you lose a survivor, then you kind of have to pick a random one, and it's like, well, they don't have anything, so
and
you
then
can start from square one.
Yeah, and that's why you know building your settlement to be more powerful helps in that regard. That they'll be birthed more powerful. You're more likely to get them more at the level of your current fighting force. But yeah, so more creative license, but you're gonna have all sides of the spectrum. You're going to have fights where you're hopeless and there's nothing you're going to do about it. You're going to keep losing, or you're going to smear the monster.
Right.
You're farming them for resources. You're here to do a job.
Die rolls are very basic. It's basically you need to hit a 7. Got it. Okay. Do you crit? No, but I still wound. Boom. You're done. You're continuously going.
Well, there are more nuances within, depending on the monster and their unique flavor, and within the hit location deck, there's different effects that can occur.
Sure. Oh, well, that's actually another.
And then
good
there's
point.
weapon proficiencies.
Well, I was actually going to say there are traps in KDM that actually are kind of like deter certain builds. Like, which, I mean, I don't know how it is with, like, the new system, but, like...
to kind of...
High speed is very bad. Because high speed is like, oh, I hit 7 times. Well, that's 7 cards you're drawing. Chances are you're drawing the trap, which negates everything. And then they go. It's kind of like... It's akin to Oathsworn's break system, where it's like, I broke this location, that interrupts, and the monster goes. ATO doesn't have traps.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not gonna... You basically get 1 hit. On the thing.
So he might attack you back, depending on the location
reaction
that you're hitting.
Yeah, but that's actually a good point, is the way KDM works is like, I got 3 hits, that's 3 hit locations I got. Versus ATO, it's I hit multiple times on my weapon, but that's just adding more damage.
More dice. So yeah, each attack is just one wound.
It's just one wound.
With KDM, you could come in and wound them 4 or 5 times.
Correct.
With a high-speed character.
Correct. But like you said, the hit location deck, or the AI deck, is its health, whereas the monsters, based off their level, have a certain number of health, which basically means discarded location cards. But you're never going to dwindle them out of options. The ATO will never get them to a signature attack. They're never just going to be kicking or something. It's like, nope, they're always going to have options. Chances are, if you're at that point, they're drawing level 3s the entire time. For me personally, again, I completely agree with you. I think they are both different. I technically should give the nod to KDM because this boss system doesn't exist if KDM doesn't exist. It clearly took that.
I mean, we're still differentiating them. I mean,
they are different, yeah. I, from a personal standpoint, lean more ATO because I love that inverted system. The ramp up, keeping every fight engaged versus like... I mean, it's funny when we're beating the shit out of these singing nerds. That's hilarious. But it's like, okay.
But I wasn't threatened. You know,
Yeah.
I didn't feel...
I didn't feel like I was actually...
I mean, yeah, I killed him. I got the resources. My settlement is stronger.
Yeah.
I'm more likely to defeat the final boss.
Correct.
And it's that's what you're building
And
towards.
eventually you kind of are like, well, we don't have to fight these things anymore. You just wave them away versus ATO. It's like, well, we're fighting one of these things, and it's going to be level 3 no matter what we decide to do. So which one... Okay, let's stay away from the Labyrinthoros because it fucking sucks. But then we'll get pushed off the edge the entire... So it is a lot more streamlined. That inverted paradigm system is so unique. And the fact that you get to reroll. Like, that is just so huge for me. Still limited and risky, but if I'm at 8 fate and I'm getting fucked up the entire fight, I chose to go up to 8 fate. I willingly made the decision knowing the risk that if I'm above 3 fate this entire fight, that's probably going to be a bad time.
Yeah.
But I have that agency. So I lean more ATO, but I can see a lot of people just loving the creativity and the wacky ones.
I mean, yeah, it's like, if you're wanting like a curated, like, technical experience, like, that's ATO does it. Every fight is a stressor. It's on the wire. You know, and in KDM you could have super easy or you're going to get melted.
Yeah.
It's rough. But you have full creative license, and there's a lot more to think about, you know, going into it that you can craft yourself. So I think they're fairly balanced in that, but from a technical standpoint, like, just the showdown itself, I'm gonna have to give it to, like, ATO. It's more strategic. Okay. You know, with just like, you know, Oathsworn, you know, it's curated. Each fight is its own puzzle in a way.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, ATO has a little more dice than, like, say, Oathsworn does.
Correct.
No, Oathsworn's just great. So, anyway,
let's bring Oathsworn in.
The amazing fights there.
Right, well, that's like...
I mean, because, like, don't get me wrong, I still love my KDM. I love the created license. Like, I love that. Like, I need that, a lot of them. That's why I like Madara so much. Because I love the character creating and the gear, just kitting them out, but that's very difficult to balance, and I understand that.
Right.
But it also feels good, like, okay, I'm this powerful. I've made them this powerful with my decisions.
Right.
So it makes you feel good smearing the monster.
Yeah.
So that's its own strength, too. So I'm going to say, from, like, a technical, balanced standpoint, ATO does it better.
Okay. So, with that being the case, I know this was a long video. I hope it was entertaining the entire time and useful. So we technically have ATO... out of these 5 categories, where basically 3 of them are the same. ATO edged it out. But I think what we mainly decided, or came down to, was that it depends on what game you're looking for.
Oh, exactly.
I mean, if money is not an issue, if you have just the money to get all of one, and it doesn't matter that you're spending $2,500 or $1,500, do you want a narrative-driven, structured, curated adventure, or do you want full creativity with mysticism and kind of theoretical crafting? Like, is kind of where it's at. Because if you want a story told to you, ATO. If you want to create the story, KDM. If you want to have fights where it's very swingy and you don't take things way too seriously, and you have your best fighter go down, but you can make a story out of that and carry that throughout their campaign, KDM's the way to go. If you want very curated, tactful fights that have a very unique system that still are involved around the story, ATO is the way to go. So ultimately, that's kind of where it comes down to on your preferred gameplay style between these two. Again, if money is not an issue. And I almost brought up, I think one of the things we were going to talk about with structure was rules, like how the rules are portrayed, but I think they're probably the same. Like in terms of how difficult it is to learn the game.
Oh, to learn the game?
Yeah.
Whoa,
you have a 70-page rule book of text with ATO, and then you have
the multiple editions and the reiterations and the clarifications.
Exactly, and then other
and then the
books.
promo content when they're experimenting with other
Right. Now, I will say this is actually way more of a surprise for me from the point I hated KDM. Like, I actively hated it from a design standpoint. And now, after the new Gambler's Chest stuff, it's made so many significant changes that I'm like, oh, no, this is actually fun. Like, this is still fun. Hell, even whenever we were going to have two of our characters get wiped on the hunt phase, I was like, okay, we'll just try. Let's fight this thing with two people. I'll control one of them. But we didn't end up doing that, but I was like, okay. Whereas previously, I would have been like, I fucking hate this game so much. But again, it's if basically what we said about each of these categories, like if we said, oh, price components goes to KDM, and you're like, fuck that's $2,500. I'll late pledge for $1,500, or not either because it's still $1,500. Then yeah, it's basically the point of this was not to say which game was better, because honestly, I was actually going to do this. I was going to do boss fights. I was going to make it a tie.
I gotcha. Sorry about that.
You're good. Because they do have radically different things, and technically the edge should still go to KDM, because this doesn't exist. At least its fights don't, without the structure of KDM. So technically they tie, just in different categories. So it's up to you. Hopefully this video was entertaining and fun. I do plan on doing more comparison videos. Might have to work. If you know of any good categories, like better than the ones we got, let me know. And I'll also try to streamline it so it's not as long. But I'm long-winded anyway, so it doesn't matter. But that's it, everyone. That is our comparison between Aeon Trespass Odyssey and Kingdom Death Monster. Let us know what you think of the games in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.